Good morning, everyone. Woo. Someone walked in and said, "Oh, I feel like I'm in school." It's like, well, yeah, you are. You know, you are in school. So want to welcome all of you to your first day of VCTA, the Virtuoso Certified Travel Advising program that you've already been doing a lot of work around. But in particular, what we want to say to you this morning with certainty is that you are on the road. Many of you have got a few more months or even a couple of years, some a couple of weeks, in the business. But this offers you the opportunity to have a really strong foundation. It's very rarely in our adult lives that we get to stop and just think about what it is that we're about to do. We're usually going like that, right? And we don't really have a chance to stop and think about it. This whole course has been designed to be a foundation, a strong foundation, actually upon which you can build your entire careers. Because we're going to stop and look at really fundamental issues, fundamental skills, fundamental knowledge that you're going to need and that you will need through the rest of your careers. Most all of you have come from other careers, so you've got a great foundation already of business skills and interpersonal skills. We were just commenting, gosh, this is this crowd is introducing themselves to everybody. You're good, good mixers already. But to stop and look at all of this is a real great opportunity. So thank you for being here. Thank your agencies for making sure that you knew about this and have this as an opportunity. And we're looking forward to a great week together. So thank you all for being here. Yay. Oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So one of the things that is important for us to know in this room and all throughout is that we are forever learning. We are always, always learning. Anytime, from anyone you can, there's always comes a time when you will be grateful that you did. We are all learners. Yes?
I know that we're not supposed to have our cell phones in here, but are we allowed to take screenshots of any of these great quotes, or you prefer not to?
For quotes and stuff, yeah, you can. Yeah, but here's the issue.
The challenge is that you have to have it up in order to do that.
Right.
We prefer that you just leave the technology
Yeah,
off.
Okay.
yeah. You'll come across all of this, again. So, and if there's something at the end of the day that you want to particularly take a picture of, let us know, or at break. That'd be good. Okay. So first things first.
We have a roster for you. So what I'd like you to do is take one of
Right.
these and pass it around. This is, of course, information that you submitted on the smart sheet that we asked you to do. However, we still want you to have a look at this and validate that all the information that you put in is still accurate. So if you have any things that need to be changed, please let us know, make a change, and then what we'll do is we'll get it up to. Anybody have corrections? No corrections?
Look carefully. Although it's
Lord.
not a trick question.
It's
just
not
a
really.
trick question.
Oh my Lord, this I may pass out.
Is it all correct? This is our 22nd class. This is the first time the roster has been correct. Yay. Oh, we already like this class. We already like this class. This is amazing.
I'm speechless.
I know. Okay, and what this is that has your local location on there, your agency, your host agency, but also your local location, so we can kind of see where people are coming from. So kind of to your point, Summer, we were talking about what are kind of the logistics. Is this in focus? Yeah? Okay. Maybe it's just me here. So a few things that we want to make sure that we are all in agreement around.
Clean your glasses? Maybe.
No, my glasses are fine. Okay. Number one is a commitment to be here. Now, you've obviously made a financial commitment to be here. You've made a time commitment to be here. But what we ask as well is that you make a commitment to be here. Be here, be present, because as we are present in the moment, we're going to be able to share, and we're going to be doing a lot of sharing of our ideas, a lot of sharing of our knowledge, and just opening ourselves up to whatever comes along. So make a commitment to be here. I know that other things are going on in your life, but while we're here, be here. Boundaries is another issue that we'd like to address. And that really has to do with what happens at Aquilina stays at Aquilina a little bit, okay? So we are going to be talking about some things, and you'll be sharing something maybe that happens at your office. Or you may be sharing something that was like, oh my gosh, this was like such a goof up that I made, or such an epic failure that I had, or whatever it might happen to be. What we don't want to have happen is for somebody to walk away going, Susan, she's with Valerie Wilson Travel. Let me tell you what she had to say. Oh my God. Okay? So what we might say is there was this woman in my class who talked about this. Okay? But it's not Susan, it's not Valerie Wilson, it's what stays here. Okay? So good on that one. Risk-taking is really about jumping into it. Whatever it is that we're asking you to do, jump in with the confidence of there's something for me to learn here, no matter what the exercise might happen to be. And to get into it and mix it up along the way. And if you've got a question along the way, or you've got a comment along the way, put it out there. Don't be afraid to sit back, all right? And here's something that you can also count on. You won't get to sit back, right? You will get called on, and you will be interacting, with the process here. So count on that. It is a technology-free zone. So we ask you to not only turn your phone off, but take it off the table and keep it away for a couple of reasons. Distractions are huge, and we know. We have to have laws against texting, laws against holding these things when we drive, so we know how distracting they are. The other thing is, when you actually write things down, you retain more of it. Even different from when we take notes with our laptops and so on, we will learn more. Now, your hand might get cramped up because you haven't written in a long time, but you'll retain more by staying away from the technology side of things. And then our fifth ask here agreement is to be on time. We have a lot of people going on here, a lot of things going on, and so being on time will be very important. Okay? So are we in agreement? Can we go with those things this week? Yep. Yes. Good. Okay.
All right, so a couple other things. Coffee, water, stuff is in the back of the room, so feel free, to help yourself. We will have a break about 10 o'clock or so just know that we'll take a formal break at that point in time so that if you do have things that you need to do, you'll have an opportunity to do that. The restrooms are out here and then down to the left if you haven't already found those. So again, if you need to, feel free to get up and go there at any point in time. On your desks, you did have a binder. It has your name on it. That's where you can put your pre-work that you printed off and brought. If you didn't hole punch it, we have a hole punch later that you can do that as well. There's a red folio for you. That's your note-taking device. There's a couple of pens, so you should be all set. And you have a name tent that is was part of what you got, so folded name tent. What we'd like you to do is take a marker, write it big and bold. Just your first name is all you have to put on. And please write it on both sides so that you and we and everybody at your table can see your first name. And that's how we're going to do that. We do have name badges for you later, and that is for our evening events, for our partners to be able to see and know who you are, but we'll give those to you towards the end of the day because, we don't like the name badges in here, but we do use the name tent. So yeah, just so write that on both sides if you would, and then make sure that at least one side is pointing towards Helen and I so that either Helen or I can at some point in time mispronounce your name throughout the week.
Exactly. And then you can embellish it as the week goes on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great. Good. Okay. Okay. Well, we got.
Nora, both sides.
Ooh, Nora's in trouble already.
Call her out.
She's in trouble already. Okay. All right. Well, with that said, we have, having made a welcome here, we have someone else who would like to welcome you, and that is Matthew Upchurch. Matthew is the CEO, founder of Virtuoso. Very proud of this course and very proud of all of you. So let's hear from Matthew just as we get started here.
Welcome. I hope you enjoyed getting to know each other last night at your reception. And I'm very excited to welcome you today to your first day of the Virtuoso Certified Travel Advisor Training Program. You know, at Virtuoso, really the most important thing for us is human connection. I'm a huge believer that as technology continues to become more ubiquitous and more powerful, that not only will people seek out people, but they'll crave for authentic human connection. VCTA is not just a product training program. It's true professional development. Professional development that is designed to turn you into a trusted advisor. Now, it's also an amazing example of the collaboration that we at Virtuoso have had with all of our members for so many years. It's the product of many members getting together over a number of years to share their ideas and share their insights. In fact, you know, before the Virtuoso Travel Academy was called the Virtuoso Travel Academy, I had it named the Virtuoso Trust. That name doesn't exist anymore because I guess everybody didn't know what I was talking about. But the reason I originally called it the Virtuoso Trust is because one of the ethos of our organization is about sharing, about looking out after each other, and knowing that there's a lot more in a philosophy of abundance than scarcity. That giving something away is actually how you get something back. And so the Virtuoso Trust was an idea that I had for allowing our Virtuoso members to put in their life experience, their professional expertise, and sharing it with new generations. And that is about what you're about to experience over the next couple of days, or actually the next week. And I'm really proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you because this is a profession that deserves the respect that it is now getting. In fact, I've been joking that being a travel advisor is now the hottest new thing that never went away. You'll learn about how to bond, how to build trust, how loyalty, which is different than repeat clients, is built from a structural and an emotional perspective. You'll hear from someone, a dear friend of mine, Simon Sinek, who wrote the book Start With Why. And he talks about the fact that people buy the why, but commoditize the what. So you should be very proud of yourself for being here. Thank your sponsoring agencies. And I really wish you a fabulous week. And remember that enriching lives for human connection leads to both a wonderful career and the bonds that you'll make this week with all your fellow classmates will be a great example of how we believe in the building of community. You'll have this community and you'll be able to build on it, and you'll be able to enjoy the success that comes with being a travel professional who is also a trusted advisor. So thank you again for your commitment. I'm excited for you. This is a profession that we all love. We made it our mission statement in 2001 to utilize the Virtuoso Network to improve the compensation and personal fulfillment of the frontline travel advisor. And now here you are. So give it all you've got, and I'll come back to you at the end. Enjoy the week.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. And he'll pop up a couple of different times over the course of the week. But he says a couple of different things that I think are really important. He talks about the power of human connection. And that is the essence of what it is that we do. That opportunity to recognize that there's some parts of what it is that we do that can be systemized and optimized through technologies and so on, but it's this one-to-one connection that is what distinguishes what it is that we do from what a lot of folks out there and what a lot of people are buying online. So we've got something pretty unique that's going on, and we're going to talk a lot about all of those things. He also talks about the fact that this is professional development. So there's a lot of skills that you have already learned. There's a lot of systems that you'll continue to learn, and we're going to work on some of these skills throughout the week as well. But it is about the development of you as a human being and you as a professional that is at the heart of what it is that we're doing. And this course was developed by your very owners and managers out there who came together over a couple of years and said, we'd like something, we don't know for sure what it is, but here are all the elements that we'd like to have involved. So that's what we're doing here this week, and again, we welcome all of you to be a part of that. Okay? So every morning, Jay's got something special for us.
I know that many of you are rolling your eyes at icebreakers, but it is a good way to kind of get to continue to know each other. But for this morning, we want to basically know your name, your agency, what was your path to travel, how did you get to where you are. We want to know whether you're an IC or staff, and IC is an independent contractor. And then what is your favorite breakfast, okay? So that's the things that we want to know. And we'd like you to stand up when you introduce yourself so that everybody can get a good look and we can know who you are. So anyway, so we'll always start this off. So my name is Jay Lindstrom, and I am with Virtuoso. My path to travel was, I'm a professional trainer, and somebody knew me and knew that they had a position open at Virtuoso, and that's how I got here, and I've been here 10 years. And on staff, and my favorite breakfast is basically bacon and butter. So anything with bacon and butter, and that pretty much sums up my morning if I can do that. So yeah. That's it. All right?
And it's the truth. You'll see it.
It's the truth.
Bacon and butter.
That is
bacon
true.
And butter.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
So, all right.
And I'll
All
go
right,
next.
Helen?
I'm Helen Nodland. I've been with Virtuoso for 11 years now. And my path to travel probably officially started as a student studying abroad. You know, I was fortunate to be able to study abroad when I was at university, and that was like, there's no going back to where I came from. So I was, that was it. I started traveling and started figuring out how I could actually make a career out of this, which I have for over 40 years. I've been in the business that you're just starting into. My favorite breakfast right now is it changes over the years, but now I'm big into protein. So I like the bacon, not the butter. I like the eggs, not the croissants, although, by the way, the chocolate croissants here are to die for. So when they're gone, so grab them fast, all right? So that's me in a nutshell, all righty? So how about we start around the room? Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Chandra.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shonda Levy, and I'm with M Travel. My path to travel was through university, actually. I attended Johnson & Wales University in Charleston, South Carolina, and my associate's degree was in travel and tourism management. And so I kind of officially got the bug from that point forward. I am an independent contractor with M Travel, and my favorite breakfast is coffee, always coffee. Sometimes it's the only thing, but I love a creamy buckwheat, a hot cereal with this nice little concoction of orange juice and coconut milk.
Whoa.
We have that tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds a lot more
I thought about how I might be able to bring that down from Delray with me.
Yeah. That sounds much more interesting than bacon and butter. Yeah. Great, wonderful. Thanks, Shonda.
Thank you.
Jump in? Yeah, absolutely. Heather, do you have another roster? Yep.
My name is Heather Rembo. I am an IC with TDH Travel by Long Island. Happy Travel is pretty much, I think, like almost everyone in this room is that just passionate about travel, love it. I feel fancy if I'm not on a plane within a month. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I always want to be going somewhere. I want to learn new things. And I had a career before this, as most of us did, and this just seems the most logical thing to get into now that I'm, starting this career. Favorite breakfast is coffee, and with that would be a green chili egg bean breakfast burrito from Mexico.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go to South America tomorrow. How about that? Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Nimnick. I'm with Odyssey Travel. I am an IC. My path to travel probably began when my parents sent me to Germany on an exchange program when I was 15. Went back when I was 19, and I didn't realize I was kind of shy. That I had the travel bug was biting, and I went by myself to East Berlin.
Ah,
And that kind of set the stage, but then I graduated from college, the economy was bad. I wanted to be in international relations, I wanted to speak German fluent. No, I ended up in accounting and HR, and then got into sales because you couldn't make a lot of money. And ended up with ADP, automatic data processing.
oh,
So
okay.
that's one thing I love about Virtuoso is having such a strong sales training.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was a stay-at-home mom for years. So this is my way of getting into international business at the age of 40
Something.
And my favorite breakfast is Eggs Benedict in bed in a 5-star Virtuoso hotel. So if I don't show up for breakfast, you know where I am.
Got it. Room service is good around here too. Yeah, wonderful.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Cindy Jorgensen. I work for Pro Travel, but I own my own LLC called Synergistic Travels. I started adventure traveling in 2012 by accident, and when I started big, summiting Mount Kilimanjaro. And I would say that was the kickoff of what has been an amazing few years of adventure. And I had women come up to me and say, I wish I could travel like you, I wish you could do what you did. And I decided they can, and I wanted to be that caveat to help them do that. So that is why I started Synergistic Travel. My last full-time full-time day at my old career was end of September. So very, very new.
Oh.
My favorite breakfast, like every good vegetarian, is avocado toast.
Oh, yes, there you go. Avocado toast. Gotcha.
Hi,
Okay.
my name's Cynthia Renee. I'm an independent contractor with Largay Travel. Path to Travel is when I graduated high school, I went with a group of 70 students, and it was 28 days through Europe, and that's really what opened my eyes. I had never really traveled before. Background, coffee. I worked for Starbucks Coffee Company for 25 years supporting all their top executives. So I've got a business travel background, and then also I did leisure travel for the executives as well too. And I decided that I needed to get into the travel industry to feed my soul. That's really my true passion. My last day at Starbucks was October 17th. I celebrated 25 years, and here I am. My favorite breakfast is Eggs Benedict.
Okay, we've got a couple of Eggs Benedict girls going on here. Wonderful. Well, welcome, Centra.
Hi, my name is Sarah Fritz. I'm with Gift to Travel Network. I'm an independent contractor. I think I saw you at Travel Detroit in Vegas.
Yes.
She was so pretty. She just stood out. She was so pretty. And my path to travel is kind of a long one. I started off working in the hotel industry, but building hotels. I worked for Ritz-Carlton. So I've built Ritz-Carltons in Las Vegas, St. Thomas, West Palm Beach, and the property here in Orlando. So yeah, the whole Grand Lakes project, yeah. And so I loved experiencing all the different cities and different cultures. And then after I got laid off in 2007 when the recession hit, when pretty much everything crashed, and I went to go work for Steve Wynn building the Encore property out in Las Vegas. So it was my exposure to luxury, and I decided I like luxury. So I wanted, and because I was being able to go to different places to do like the renovations, or it opened me up to experiencing different cities and different cultures, which kind of fed, I want to learn more and I want to learn more. And then So my husband and I, we work for Universal Studios, and we built the Oz Adventure theme park from the ground up. So that's an amazing experience. And then I worked for Disney, building some attractions for Disney. I did Legoland out in Winter Haven, the whole thing in Legoland. So it's a really fascinating thing. But then all the travel started going to, all the theme parks started going to China, and I don't really want to go to China. I'm a huge animal lover. I rescue animals, and I know they eat dogs over there, and I don't want to go. So but since I've had a passion for travel, my husband and I planned everything, like details like down to the currency, to the weather, to the trains, and I did all this all on my own, and I started realizing this is just something that just makes me so happy and so fulfilled. And even though it can take so long, and sometimes it can be so frustrating when Alitalia cancels your flight 3 times on the same trip, you never want to book Alitalia again. But you just have such a need to desire, just like, okay, next, what's on my bucket list next? Where do I want to go next? How am I going to make this happen? How am I going to go there? And you get so inspired and you're so passionate about it that's why I'm here. And my favorite breakfast is pizza.
Okay, okay. Talk to Franco. He just got, he's Italian back there. Yeah, yeah. Who else like to jump up? Yeah, Brianna?
Yeah. So I'm Brianna Korb, and my agency is Largay Travel. My husband and I actually own Sculpted Escapes. So he was at BCTA a couple years ago.
Right.
So I've heard a little bit, but most of the time he was like, no, do it yourself.
That sounds like Rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My path to travel was actually my dad traveled quite a lot for work. So we would kind of follow him around, not moving to different places, but visiting on spring breaks or long weekends, mostly just in the U.S. So that kind of started it. So where I'm like, okay, what about history of different places? I've always liked learning. So just wanted to see things in person versus a picture in the book. I'm an IC with Largay, and my favorite breakfasts are, right now, since it's fall, pumpkin, gluten-free pancakes.
Okay, everyone's liking this the food combination here. Yeah, Laura.
Hi, I'm Lori Rouse. I am an independent contractor with Travel Edge, and I have an LLC called Savoy Travel Group. My path to travel was kind of interesting because I never got a passport stamp. My first passport stamp was in 2008. I was in my 30s, so.
Right.
But I caught the bug and was in real estate for another almost 10 years until our company was bought out. I was working in charge of a small boutique firm, and we were bought out by Coldwell Banker. I always wanted to be in travel, so I said this is the time. So early this year, I started really laying the tracks and went to the travel agent forum, found Travel Edge, and here I am now. So
Wonderful.
my favorite breakfast, I'm not really a breakfast person per se, but yogurt, fruit, a little bit of granola is probably what does it for me.
Good. So wonderful. Did you have some of that granola this morning?
I did, it was fantastic.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. Good. Who's next? Jump in. Yeah, Bridget.
I'm Bridget Ward-Gaftig. I'm brand new to this business, but I will be an independent contractor with Largay Travel. My path to travel, I think I've just been traveling, since I was very, very young. My family, we lived here in North America, and my parents had all of their family in Europe, so we would go back and forth all the time. So travel kind of was in my blood, and I felt very, very comfortable with it. And then I was lucky enough to marry someone who also loved to travel. And
Well, that's got to be on the checklist of, Yeah.
So we've got, and then we've sort of just been planning our travel since we were married. So, and I love that as much as the traveling itself. I have just retired from a long and very gratifying career in healthcare, which enabled us to be able to travel the virtuoso way, which has been wonderful. So now, in thinking about how I want to spend the rest of my life, I'm going to do really what I absolutely love, and that's to plan travel for other people and hopefully instill the passion in them as well.
Wonderful.
Favorite breakfast, I too am not a big breakfast person other than the coffee. I absolutely need the coffee. But I'm pretty simple. I just like eggs and potatoes, so that's it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome, Bridget. Glad to have stolen you away from the healthcare industry. Yeah, great, good. And, yep, okay, Nora?
I'm sorry, there were so many pretty colors, I just couldn't do my name
Yeah.
card in time there. My name is Nora Elzey. I'm full-time staff with the Society of International Railway Travelers, the long name. Full disclosure, my path to travel was I saw a job posting saying, do you like trains? And I do like trains. So that's how I got into it, and it's just been so rewarding so far, just helping people plan these really amazing life-changing trips. And my favorite breakfast is gluten-free pancakes on a sunny morning on the weekends at home.
All right, all right, all right. Who is it, gluten-free pumpkin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. It's the season.
Oh,
Right.
Angela was, yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I am with Travel-ish. I'm an IC at the New York City office. And my path to travel, I would say that it was a way of life without even realizing it. My dad worked for the U.S. Embassy, so we've collectively lived everywhere from Australia to Japan to South America to South Africa. So it was just a very nomadic and gypsy-like lifestyle. When I started having a family of my own, it just continued, and then I started teaching yoga so I could be home at full time. And then I founded my own company called Ali Yoga at the time, and I started leading yoga retreats. And the first one I led to was in Bali, and what I would do is I would go to these places, I would stay at a few different locations, I would try all the activities, and I'd come back home, I'd put together an itinerary, package it, and then I would advertise it and sell it to my clients. And so I didn't realize that I was being, at the time I didn't know that I was like a tour operator.
Right.
And, a travel advisor, and then I would be your guide when I bring you over and your yoga instructor. Wearing all those hats. And so when I moved to New York, it just seemed like a natural, I led a retreat in the Amalfi Coast, and after that point, it just seemed like a natural progression to find a host agency, because all my other clients from the retreats were asking for advice, and I had always been helping people, giving recommendations and planning their travel. So that's what took me here. And favorite breakfast in Southeast Asia, you're going to the buffet. They always have fried rice or those soups, those soup lines, and yeah, that'll do it for me.
That'll do it for you.
Super hearty.
Good, good, good. Angela brings up a really good point, and that is that, like with a specialty like you have, they may come to you for the yoga retreat, but then they go, well, now, how about I would like to go to, take my family wants to go to South Africa, not on yoga. And then suddenly you've got other business to deal with. Yeah, great.
I summited Mount Kilimanjaro too, so I had people coming for adventure travel as well.
Super.
Though it wasn't my forte or anything.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, that's great, that's great. Well, we'll have you lead us in some yoga stretches every once in a while, because you guys will be doing a lot of sitting. Scott.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Scott Anderson, and we have an independent agency associated with Travel-X International. And why is that? We came up with a name that we're reviewing all these names, a lot were taken. So we came up with the name Kip's Trips, and Kip is my wife, so that worked out well. My background is high tech. I worked in Silicon Valley for many years and then retired, and discovered that when we had the time, one of the things we did was travel quite a bit. So you probably got the bug. Kip got it. She can explain that earlier. But one of the companies I used to work for was Sun Microsystems, and we had these sales contests. And at the end of the year, if you made your numbers, you got to go somewhere, and they had amazing trips. They would take a group of top performers to places like, where did we go? We went to France. We actually rented out Versailles one year and had contests, and it was, private.
In the Hall of Mirrors, huh?
We actually went into a private area where they used to do concerts. And
Really?
so they did amazing things like that. We went to Australia when the Yacht House was new, and they had a special concert there for us. And these were that really made us think about after I was retired and Kip retired as well, that we would love to be able to do things like that, that do change people's perspectives and their lives when they experience these things. And that was an extremely clever thing for them to do, of course, because it motivated everybody to work
Right.
extremely hard.
Right.
Because everybody wanted to be on the trip.
Yeah.
So my favorite breakfast is just, first of all, always espresso. And this espresso here in this hotel is really good.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of machines we go in Europe, and they've got the Nespressos, but they're not as good as this.
Yeah, these little lilies are nice. Yeah. Great.
And then eggs with vegetables and avocado.
And avocado. Okay, we better start ordering some avocado here in the morning. Yeah. You know, you're talking about kind of incentive travel, right? And these incredible trips that companies offer. Second to money, travel is the highest motivator when it comes to incentive travel. You know, you can get prizes and you can get, you know, the different kinds of, all sorts of different types of things. But short of hard, cold cash, money is the number one motivator. In some cases, it's, or I should say, travel. In some cases, travel is even a higher motivator.
And the phrase that we had was, if you did get a cash bonus, was go make a memory.
And go make a memory with your money. Good little tagline. Yeah.
In Seattle, we have a lot of tech companies, and we have a lot of people vying for the same talent. I had a lot of conversations locally with HR recruiters about not getting those cash signing bonuses, but after 3 or 4 months of employment, giving them a trip because of the known and the experiential, and a lot of them already make a lot of money, but it's guaranteeing them 2 weeks somewhere incredible and enormous.
Right.
And really successful.
Cindy, have we got something for you? Something called Wanderlist. We'll talk about it a little bit. It's a new program that Virtuoso has that is right on, and that's exactly how it's being sold, you know, or one way it's being sold. Yeah, Kip. Okay, here's the other half of this Scott and Kip show.
I'm actually Kip.
Of Kip's Trips.
Kip of Kip's Trips. When we first proposed the name to Greg and Ursula in Travelex, they had a funny look, and we said, well, actually, we checked so many of the other kinds of names that are out there. Nobody has this one. This is what we're going to pick. And actually, I think it'll work out fine. So we work with Travelex out of Chicago. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're independent contractors. And path to travel. So as Scott mentioned, I started traveling when I was 19 on an education abroad program to Spain. I'm fortunate that I am perfectly bilingual in English and Spanish, so I've traveled the Spanish-speaking world from one end to the other. I've lived abroad, I've taken groups of students abroad. I also was a teacher for many years. I started at the elementary level, then I did middle school, high school. Middle school is not my favorite. But it's okay. Most of my educational career has been spent as an elementary school principal and a trainer of adults. I was a consultant and a workshop trainer. So I'm pretty familiar with the work that you do, and I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to be here.
And not have to be doing it.
Standing in front
Yeah,
of
okay,
you.
yeah.
That's the best part. The last thing that I did once I retired was I coached new school administrators in California. Finally, somebody recognized that administrators at schools are way overworked, and they come on board thinking they're going to do one thing, and in fact they end up doing something else. So if you have coaching for them, along with a really intensive, good professional development program, you actually make principals want to stay at their schools, able to make the changes that they can make and really make a difference. And I think travel has enhanced all of those kinds of things. So for me, traveling is a way to make experiences, to make memories, to give people the opportunity of a lifetime to do things that we get to do all the time as much as we can. And all of my friends have said, I asked them, where do you want to go? And one of them said the cutest thing, he said, I want to go where you go. So I get that wonderful opportunity now to work on those kinds of things. My favorite breakfast, I never had coffee until I went and lived in Spain when I was 19. And the only other experience I had with coffee was my mom's can of Folgers that I thought smelled so delicious and tasted so bad. I went to live in Spain and I got a complete different impression of coffee. So I'm a major coffee drinker. My favorite breakfast is cappuccino.
perfect, perfect. Wonderful. Beautiful. Okay, who's next? Yeah, Brenda.
Hi, I'm Brenda. I'm 19 for work from Dubai. I'm path to travel. Like summer, I was in the luxury industry. I was a sales and brand manager for over 100 luxury brands and found Virtuous. So I'm like, oh, let me try that. And my favorite breakfast is definitely French toast.
French toast. Okay, well then you were a little bit, you were happy this morning. In fact, I saw you kind of slathering that baby up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Let's see. Debbie, where's Debbie? Debbie, yeah.
Rodney from a cold. I'm Debbie Ames. I'm with RJ Travel, and I've primarily been a stay-at-home mom, but I have a background in counseling. But I've had the travel bug my whole life, from exchange programs in France and Germany, and my husband travels a lot for work internationally, so my children and I have been fortunate to travel a lot. And friends were always coming to me for advice and recommendations, and now with my kids getting older and more independent, I knew I wanted to do something for me and something that was fun. And I knew that if I was going to do this, I wanted to be a part of Virtuoso. So here I am. I've been doing it a year officially, sort of, and I absolutely love it. Every time I book a trip, I just get this like rush of adrenaline, and it's so much fun. And I know I have so much more to learn, but I love it, and I love everyone I have met and I have encountered, and it's such like a positive, happy industry.
It is, it is. It's a positive, happy industry. Yeah, yeah. Good. Welcome, Debbie.
Oh, sorry, breakfast.
Yeah.
Coffee and green smoothie.
Coffee and a green smoothie. Okay. All right. All right. Yes, Valerie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Balderson. I think I'm the token Canadian here.
I think you are the token Canadian.
So I work for an IC that is hosted in Toronto, and I'm actually in Ottawa, and I do speak French. So we have a couple of people that I've already had a little bit of a conversation with. My path to travel, my background is actually international business development in project finance and project management. So I started traveling, my very first trip was to Haiti, believe it or not, to help a Canadian company expand their business in Haiti. They were manufacturing bricks. And so one of the first stories I have of that is that we sent a whole bunch of equipment down to the workers because they used to carry everything with their hands. So we sent a whole bunch of wheelbarrows, and the next time I went down to see how that was working out, they had the wheelbarrows on their head full of bricks because they didn't really understand how to use them. So that was really, that was very interesting, which led to a whole bunch of training and development and human resources management with the partners and all of their staff. So in project management, I spent quite a bit of time in Southeast Asia, my last projects. And so I actually opened a regional office in Bangkok, lived there for a year, traveled there every 3 or 4 months. My favorite breakfast is street food in Thailand, which I would highly recommend. And that's my story.
All right, all right. That's a good story. That's a good story. Yes, yeah, Yari.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jadi Maldonado, and I am with
How do you pronounce your name?
My full name or my?
Well,
Jadi.
Jadi, like with a J. Okay.
Like a J.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm with M Travel, affiliated with them, but my company's name Lux and Chic Travel, because I like all things chic and luxury, of course. My path to travel was really when I was really young. I grew up in Puerto Rico in the mountains, so waterfalls and hikings was my playground. I didn't know what Nintendo or anything like that was. My parents travel a lot the world, so kind of think they kind of traveled around and got exposed to a lot of amazing cultures and people. And I wanted to be an archaeologist at one point and started studying that. And I had a child and kind of quickly scratched that. And went into aviation. Love of travel. My favorite mode of transportation is an airplane. And I did that for about 15 years, worked with a lot of airlines, putting in the IFE, entertainment and flight entertainment systems, so Wi-Fi, television. Thank you for that. I would say we're the first one to put Wi-Fi in the air, by the way. So I did that, but that afforded me the privilege second son, I decided that I liked travel a lot more than what I was doing, and I decided to kind of venture into travel planning. And I love it. I love making people happy. I love building new relationships, and I love when they return home, because you always have the great stories. And even when you don't have the best stories, you have an opportunity to turn it around for them. So, and that's me. Oh, and my favorite breakfast, I don't know if you guys have heard, but it's mango. It's traditional Dominican. It's made of plantains, so very vegetarian in a way. Mango and definitely French toast. I love my French toast.
Okay, so you were happy this morning too.
Yes, but I didn't have any. I know. I want it to be a little good.
Forget it. Forget it. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. Yes, Shannon.
I'm Shannon Hepburn. I am an independent contractor with Glass Slipper Concierge, which is affiliated with Sam Lawrence Travel. As you can tell from the name, I enjoy traveling to Disney, and everything started was going to Disney, everything, that was what I grew up doing. So now I'm learning that there's actually other places to travel besides Disney. I always thought it was a small world after all, but it was So now I'm really excited I had a background in physical therapy, so I did physical therapy for about 20 years. So this started as a little hobby to do travel because I just enjoy doing that for other people. So I'm really excited to go through this course because I never had any background in marketing or sales or anything like that. So I'm really looking forward to learning how to grow my business and capture all the things that Virtuoso has to offer. My favorite breakfast, and I'm from the South, is biscuits and gravy.
All right. That's great.
So, my name is Marlene. I am with Oliver Travel in Dallas, Texas. As you can tell, I'm French. And so my path to travel only started with a trip to the US when I was 15 in Florida. And yeah, my life has been completely different since then. And I've traveled a lot, and I've been in the travel business, in the leisure travel business for about a year now, and I love it. And my favorite breakfast, well, as a real French person, toasted bread with butter and a good hot tea.
Good. Wonderful. Welcome. Did you go to Disney the first year, the first time you came?
Of course. I even worked there later on. 10
Oh my
years
gosh.
later, I worked at Epcot in the French Pavilion. Yeah.
It is a small world after all, isn't it? Yes, okay. And let's see, Stephanie. Yeah.
My name is Stephanie Reiner, and I'm with Largay. I've been there 8 weeks, like Bridget, and so this is very new for me. This path, where I am right now is very new. And I'm an IC. I was thinking about my path to travel. First of all, I found all your stories completely fascinating. And I was thinking about the nucleus is travel, and I don't have a path. I almost have multi-points of arrows that led me to this point. I grew up in New York City, so I think the travel bug, pre-cell phones, pre-everything, just became my own backyard. And getting on a subway and figuring out, or going to the Met, or the Cloisters, or finding something that was either what now we'll call pop-up, or or a perennial or an annual. So that came to me, I guess, just intuitively growing up in New York City. Secondarily, I kind of realized my first boyfriend late in high school was from the UK on a program called BUNAC, and I learned through both those experiences how to see, he was from London, how to travel through the eyes of somebody who lived in a place, which to me is really how you get the life, and seeing it through the eyes of somebody who experiences it, not just a week or two there. So I think that, and then I went to study abroad. So I think that sort of three-step process opened up my love to travel. Then I went off and had my MBA in finance and marketing, and I always seemed to be assigned the corporate hospitality role each year in planning the retreats. And then somehow, even though my life became my husband and I moved across the United States for different opportunities. Again, I immersed myself, locally in everything I did, internationally and nationally. And so my love of travel then was projected throughout my life to other friends, and they came to me for advice. So I'm hoping to take this recreational life skill that I've developed and parlay it into a career at this point. My favorite breakfast, being from New York, is a toasted everything bagel, lox, cream cheese, onions, tomatoes, and capers.
Okay, I can go for that too. Good, good, good. And Susie, yeah.
Hi, I'm Susie. I'm an independent contractor with Ballard Wilson Travel out in New York City. The name of my company is Bucket List Travel Services. And I grew up with a family that loved to travel. When I was 5, we took the QE2 and went from New York to London and all over for 2 months. And ever since then, I've loved to travel. And I have a journalism degree, but you couldn't really make a living in that. So I went into sales. And then when I had my first child, I decided to stay home. And I have 3 kids, and I stayed home. But in the meantime, for a short time, I did recruiting for corporate travel agents. And I opened up the Chicago market. This was back in probably 97 to like 2000, but then kind of the market crashed. And I learned a lot about agents and agencies then. And then I've been a big volunteer and fundraiser for a lot of charities. And so my last child just went off to college, and I wanted to do something. And we love to travel. People always ask me. But the one thing about me is I'm a really picky traveler. I'm notorious. I've left hotels at midnight in London and gone to another hotel. And so I figured I wanted to associate myself with an agency that does luxury travel. And so that's how I found Ballard Wilson. And it was actually a friend who through Instagram had another woman who was with Ballard Wilson. And November 9th is my year. And I love it, and Virtuoso is amazing, and it's been great. So I'm really excited. I have like a newfound energy, about me. So when everyone tells you it's very sad when your last kid goes off to college, I don't have time for my kids anymore. So it's
Adios, goodbye, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I really don't have time anymore, so it's been great, and I've learned about a lot of, you think you've traveled a lot, and but it's a big world out there, and there's I'm learning every day, and it's wonderful. And one thing I just learned the other day is these young kids, they want Instagram-worthy trips.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's my big thing. So, and I'm not a breakfast person. I drink my Topo Chico sparkling water, but when I do eat breakfast, my favorite thing is Snooze, which is in Boulder, Colorado, and they have them in Denver. Gluten-free pancake of the day with vanilla sauce.
Yeah, all right. So we got a few gluten-frees here in the room. And we have 2 other colleagues in the back. Now you've met myself, Helen, and you've met Jay, but we've got Danny and Jennifer in the back who are also with Virtuoso and an integral part of our team. So let's hear what Danny has to say about his path to travel, his breakfast.
Path to travel.
Stand up.
Oh, of course. So, hi friends. Path to travel. One of my very first jobs out of high school was with Holland America Cruise Line, because I'm also from the Pacific Northwest, from Seattle, and then I completely switched things up, went back to college, and fell in love with teaching. So I was a middle school teacher for 2 years, which I loved teaching middle school. You either love it or you hate it. I loved it, and I didn't like working with high school students. They're too manipulative. And then I found I love working with adults. I started training with adults, and I spent 7 years at Starbucks at the same time, but we didn't know each other or work with each other.
Oh, really? You didn't know
same
each other,
time,
though.
same place.
Interesting.
And then I found my way into Virtuoso, and I'm having a blast. Favorite breakfast would be Eggs Benedict.
Okay, all right.
I
And
am
Ms.
Jennifer Campbell, and I live in Atlanta. I work for Virtuoso, and I'm training professional development team. And my path to travel, I was in economic development consulting for a number of years, and kind of got burned out on being the road warrior, and so bought a travel agency. It was a luxury boutique agency in Atlanta that was Virtuoso. Got to know Virtuoso that way. And here I am now, 6 years later. And my favorite breakfast. I really don't like breakfast. If it was about 11 a.m., then that's probably okay, but usually it's leftovers from the night before.
Great. All right. Good. Good. And we do have a couple of other guys here in the room who are. You can see that they're photographing things. Just so you know, what we're doing is this is all internal. This isn't anything that's going to show up on YouTube somewhere. Okay. But this is all for our internal training use as well for ourselves. So. So our buddies here are going to be with us all throughout the week. All right. But I've already forgotten that they're here, so I haven't forgotten that you're here, but I've forgotten that the cameras are here, okay? Right. And their names are Thaddeus and Adam. Great. Okay, good, good. Okay, well, very good. What an interesting group of people. And that is exactly who's attracted to this business. You know, people who've come from all sorts of really, really interesting backgrounds and previous careers and lives in different parts and corners of the planet. So we've got a really interesting gang with us today. So Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the agenda looks like? Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You kind of get the idea. So, but here's really, so today it really is focusing on relationships, and we're going to do a number of exercises. Throughout the week, we really try our best not to have you sit and let us talk at you. So we really try to find ways to mix it up, and that's what we'll be doing throughout every day. But today is about relationships. Tomorrow, we're going to focus on the process, and that is the collaborative travel planning process. We're going to spend time breaking it down, getting some exercises, talking about things that you really need to maybe do better in those pieces of the processes. So we're going to do that as well. Day 3 is all about branding and marketing. A little bit in terms of the broader understanding of marketing and branding, but we're really going to pull it into what Virtuoso has for you and the marketing tools, the resources that are available, and we're going to focus on that for day 3. On day 4, as we start to wind it up, we're going to look at resources a bit more, and we're going to talk about a plan. We want you to walk out of here with some sort of 30, 60, 90-day plan, so when you get back to your desk, you've got an action plan that's going to hopefully take all the things that you've learned this week and really sort of work on it and implement that when you get back. And then on day 5, we're going to have our final first thing in the morning. We're going to kind of do a little debrief. We're going to talk about some other kinds of things that maybe will help you do a better job when you get back. And we'll wrap it up and be out of here by about 12:30. And believe me, Friday's going to come really quickly
fast.
Before you know it. Yeah, so that's really what our full week. And on your desk, there was basically an agenda. So that kind of helps you, talks about what's going on throughout the week as well as the evenings. And so that agenda just gives you a little bit more understanding of what each day looks like.
Okay, good. And we've got experts in the room. I mean, I was thinking about you, Valerie, as a project manager when it comes to, you know, strategically planning how to get things done, and Summer as well. I mean, you've built things from the bottom up, understanding that a plan is a requirement in order to get things done. Yeah, Kip as well, your background. So, and some of you also in marketing and in branding. So we've got what we've got, but anytime that you've got additional things to add to the equation, we really appreciate that and ask you to do that. Okay, so today's objectives. Every day we'll look at a set of objectives that we want to take on during the course of the day. Knowing what travel advising is, actually getting a better understanding, a better grasp of what it is, and also what it isn't. There's a lot of assumptions out there about what it is that you guys have embarked upon. So understanding the differences here. We're going to zero in on a couple of the really, really important parts of building relationships. One of them is listening. One of them is around listening. Spend a little time in recognizing bias and where bias might show up and how that can get in the way of our relationships. We're going to do a fair bit of practice today, so that we're going to be interacting with each other and playing some games to kind of solidify some of these things, kind of help us remember things that we already know, but kind of reestablish those. And then we always do an assessment on the front end of the day and on the back end of the day. So these will be our objectives for today, all in service to better understanding or kind of reestablishing for ourselves how important these relationships are as a cornerstone to our business. So we'll start that off with an assessment, right?
So in your binder, you should have, it's called a self-assessment for mastery, day 1, building relationships. So what I want you to do is on a scale of 1 to 5, and you may not even know what these are, but you will at the end of the day, and then we're going to pull this back out and look at it again. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how well do you think you know what advising is or what advising isn't? How well do you think you know what bias awareness is? Effective listening, relationships, or trust. So again, if you don't know anything about it, then you would be a 1. If you think you know what it is, 3 or 4. If you think you have it all on lock, then you're a 5. So just go ahead and rate yourself. Again, we'll pull it back out at the end of the day after we've gone through all this, and you'll get a chance to reassess yourself and then write down some key takeaways.
Okay, we good? All righty. Well, all of what we're going to be talking about, certainly today and throughout this week, makes no sense unless we start with what advising actually is, what this professional travel advising is all about. So setting a context here, what defines it, what gives it shape, what gives it dimension, is where we want to actually start our conversation. So let's start that conversation by, and I'm just going to use this little flip chart right here, in talking about what, and some of this may be some of the experiences that you guys have had as new advisors. Get this undone here. There. When in doubt, rip it apart. There we go. So let's think about this. What is this advising, thing? And some of you have been, talking in terms of being an agent as well. So what are some of the elements to this? What is it that that is part of the work that you're doing? What are some of the bits and pieces? Debbie? Listening. Okay, so listening is a part of that. Yep. Research. Yep. Experience. Like, what do you mean?
Experiencing things so that we can suggest them to people.
Okay, so like experiencing travel experiences. Okay, right? Guidance. So what do you mean by that?
I mean, they come to you because they feel that you are either an expert or know what you're talking about and putting together these itineraries for them.
Okay.
Guiding your client through the process.
Okay, yeah, guiding them through the planning and decision making. Right, okay. Asking questions. Right, so we've got listening, we've got questions, we've got communications. Say that again? Quality recommendations, right.
Realistic budget.
Okay, budgets. Yeah. Budgets? Whose time?
Both yours and the client's.
Right. Yes. Ah, okay. Okay, so creative problem solving. What do you mean by that?
For accessibility, well, so that they know that they can contact you at any time to
Okay, okay.
advocate for them and even down to telling them how to make an international call, from your cell phone when you're out of your country.
Okay, all right. Maybe, yeah, help, yeah, or troubleshooting or preparing them. Yeah, okay. Or risk management, yeah. How does risk management show up? Certainly in some of these sorts of things, like helping them to avoid a risk or a problem beforehand. How else might you, who said risk management? Yeah, how might else you handle something like that?
I was thinking just about vetting and making sure that your client's investment is protected from the right supplier.
Okay, okay, so this would be under risk management here. We're going to talk about vetting clients, insurance, vetting clients, or rather partners and suppliers. Yeah. Actually, probably vetting clients too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll leave that one up there.
Restating and reflecting.
Okay.
Is a critical quality.
Right, okay, so that's sort of restating and reflecting. Yeah.
Adding value.
Pardon me?
Adding value.
Adding value. How are you going to be adding value?
Something that like they can't do themselves or with the technology.
Okay. Okay, something that they can't do on their own. Can't do on their own, or sometimes referred to as it's ungoogleable. Yeah. Can't do it themselves.
Like project management, because you're managing it from the beginning through the end and past the end.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a client that just went out on a Crystal cruise, and they were so disappointed that the ship was unable to make one of the ports call, and I had a private tour arranged for them. So I'm there. I was up at 3:30 every morning checking my messages just to make sure everything was okay with them every day that they were on their ship because they're first-time clients. It doesn't stop just because you book their trip. It is a project management from beginning to end, and then the retention after.
Right. Yeah, so here under our, where did I put project management here? Pre, during, and after. Yeah. Yeah, it isn't just planning the trip by a long shot. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's the whole process is very dynamic because back to, I'm sorry, Susie said about Instagram, I think trends, both technology and just consumer trends, have to continuously, you have to stay very on top of
Right.
current events, market trends, technology. So I don't know how to succinctly put that, but it is a very dynamic process where you have to be constantly at the forefront of information gathering. So I think as an advisor, you want to be somebody that people look to for that because you're on top of all this.
Well, exactly, and I think, Angela was talking about it and a couple of others as well. You are in a leadership role, I mean, yes, you're managing their project, and yes, you're, dealing with all of these details, but on top of that, people are looking to you for leadership. What not only what is trending, perhaps, what's sort of the latest, greatest, most whiz-bang thing, but maybe increasingly, what isn't trending? What's ahead of the curve? What insight do you have about where is the next thing? And that people can get there before that thing gets... Right, forecasting, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think part of the tricky factor as well is sifting through some of the fluff and the hype.
Yes,
That are not,
right.
as great as maybe they're portrayed to be.
Absolutely. So, let's see. I'll call it sorting and sifting. All right? You know what I mean. Because, and along with that, I think that ties in here to our destinations, the companies that we work with. There are thousands of companies out there. I mean, all you have to do is click something, on the internet, and up come thousands and thousands and thousands of different companies, many of which are great. I mean, they're wonderful companies. One of the things that you have an advantage with at Virtuoso is that a big chunk of those people have been heavily vetted, and you, from the get-go, can rely on them as partners who have your best interests in mind. Anything else here that sort of falls into the equation, Bridget? Customization. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and under the value add, you referred to this, but there are a lot of ways that you could add value, such as explain to somebody how to get a chip for the phone when they land at the
Right.
save some money.
Mm-hmm.
Or tips about getting through customs very easily.
Right.
Not customs, but immigration.
Right.
Get a ghost card, but that's a good
Right.
things like that. So I
Yeah.
think that they look wherever they're going for you to be the expert on things like that. So
Yes.
you will save them some.
Exactly. So they really are looking at you to be an expert traveler. Right.
Well, you should know the nuances. I mean, how many people don't think of, if you're going to go to Florence, if you're going to go to Venice, if you're going to enter a basilica, women have to have their shoulders covered, their knees covered.
Right.
If you're not aware that, if you haven't experienced that, you're gonna send your clients on this amazing trip. They're gonna go there in their typical flip-flop shorts and, no shoulder cover, and then they're not gonna get to enjoy the experience because you didn't know and you didn't convey to them
Right.
that you have to have an appropriate dress code.
Right. Yeah. And you don't have to know everything. And that's the beauty as well of your being a great advisor, meaning that you've got great contacts. You've got great access out there, and you've got partners on the ground in Italy that you work with are also going to help you with some of those sorts of things. But I think that's really true. Some of these tips and tricks out there. I think it's, who's my Valerie Wilson? Susie. I think it was your agency that you have the TSI guys actually come into the office every once in a while. Right, and invite clients to come in and get signed up for, or TSA rather, yeah. TSA. Yeah. Hang on.
To be very aware of what parts of the world have over-tourism.
Okay. A big issue anymore, over-tourism. Yeah, so going to Florence is fabulous, and we all know that Florence is one of the great cities of the world. And there are times there's ways to handle a place like Florence that are going to be to your client's advantage, so that they don't maybe hit as many of those doggone tourists out there, So over-tourism is an increasingly important issue for all of us. It's an important issue within Virtuoso as well to look at. So all of these things. So when you stop to think about what advising is, it's adding value, it's being aware of things like over-tourism, it's our ability to communicate through questioning and listening, our research abilities, our guidance and project management, creative problem solving, attention to all these details, troubleshooting, risk management, the vetting of all of these partners out there, the vetting of clients out there, the vetting of our colleagues out there, all of that stuff incredibly important out there. Managing people's budgets, what's realistic for what it is that they're dreaming of doing, and also how to manage that budget in order for them to help them recognize that maybe it's worth a stretch, of their budget to do certain things, or to include this and maybe not include something else. So there's a ton of different things that you guys have started to recognize as part of this advising business. So, but there's another element to all of this, and that is, what is it that you actually have to do? So there's the there's all of this communication and customization and recommendations and so on, but then there's the nitty-gritty, okay? So let's take a moment and look at what the nitty-gritty is of all of this. So here we are kind of at high level. Now let's do an exercise that gets us down to what you actually have to do on a day-by-day basis when you're booking that yoga retreat to Bali, or the Amalfi Coast, or you're working with your clients. So we've got, Jay, tell us what each of the tables is going to be doing here.
So we've got a flip chart, and it says Hotel, Cruise, FIT, Tour. Each of you will have one of those. What I'd like you to do is we're going to start off with Hotel, and I want you to use the blue sticky notes. And the goal is to write out every task that you have to do to book a hotel. We're going to start off with hotel. So you can break up the blue sticky notes, but basically as a table group, you want to write down as many tasks that you have to do in order to get a hotel booked for your client. Okay? We're going to give you like 3 to 5 minutes to do this task. So blue sticky notes. And here's the other thing. When you've got them all written down.
Hang on, listen up.
When you've got them all written down, we want the sticky notes to be in the column under hotel. Okay?
Right.
All right. Questions on what we're doing with the blue sticky notes?
Right. So some of it might come off of here.
There we go.
But some of it is also sort of the nitty-gritty task. Okay?
Yeah. You can do it as a table, you can do it individually, but each sticky note should have one task on it.
And I'll have one of you guys flip that over when you get ready for it.
Brenda, let me squeeze by you. That's okay. Thank you.
Don't worry about availability.
That's just one of the items that we learned. Check.
God, this is a smart group of people. I'm continually amazed.
Find out about amenities. I'm just thinking like literally everything that goes through my
Mhm.
mind, not necessarily in order, but just, exactly.
Maybe like the amenities in the hotel.
You know what? Maybe what I'll start doing is putting them up and transportation. We'll stick them on the hotel section.
Yeah. Could be, does the hotel have a car? Do they have a car? And or, how are you going to get to and from the hotel? Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I guess they call it reconfirming, welcome.
So like you don't have to carry up luggage, right? Is that someone that's a leader that can
disability issue is we were in a hotel, you had to go into each room, there were 3 steps down. Or I said, I want a room that doesn't have the steps down. Well, then we opened the door and it was 3 steps up.
So it would be like the number of people that
That's how it's wrong with us, but we didn't like it.
Family, then it's going to be a different unit.
Exactly. Go in.
Phone calls. Those are phone calls.
Yep, you ask.
What kind of bedding do they need? Do they want two queens? Do they want a king? Right? Yeah, all of that. Yeah. Don't forget, we got to get those up on the board at the same time. So yeah.
And their ability to get you into the
We do have, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we do. Thank you.
Upgrades, yeah, very important to know about upgrades.
Form of payment.
Yes?
That's important.
Well, no. I have 20s and 2 1s.
Some hotels.
Okay, about another minute. So let's get those up there.
Yeah?
Or reservations.
Yeah.
Tour reservations, dining reservations.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like how extensive does the concierge involve themselves with the client?
Well, it depends on what the hotel is stressing. I mean, some
Right.
tour hotels where they have their particular thing to try and differentiate themselves.
Right.
One salesperson at the hotel was great because she insisted we eat some cheesecake. Just to be different. She wanted us to leave with the taste of cheesecake. It was very clever sales technique.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe there's a
The
shorter way to say that, but-
I think we refer to it on virtuoso.com as the vibe of the hotel, kind of the vibe. Yeah. Right. How about if you've got children? What happens with it with kids? Family. Yeah. Connecting versus adjacent rooms. You know, do they have, and can you guarantee the connecting rooms? Big deal. Yeah. Do they have family programs? Children's programs. Yeah.
All right, let's get our last blue stickies written on. Get them on the board if you haven't already done that.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to take the orange sticky for the orange, and we're going to do the same thing for a cruise. What are all of the things that you need to do to book a cruise? And some of the things may be the same, and that's okay, because you're still going to have a lot of the same things that you have to do. But what are all of the tasks required to book a cruise for your client? All right, orange stickies, and the same thing, get them up on the board. All right? About another 5 minutes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to write
Yeah.
So time of cruise, days, the amount of days of cruise, and the time of year that you want to go. Include type of ship and type of like the right fit for the client. Like small adventure.
Right.
River, ocean, that type of cruise. Things like that. We mentioned it.
Yeah.
And then what the perks are, like the virtuoso perks,
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Deposit information, final payment due dates.
And insurance.
Do you want to find out if they need hotel free?
Yeah, very important.
And then free
Yeah.
What about whether or not they want to do a Virtuoso Voyages? Right? Virtuoso Voyages.
Right.
Do they want it to be hosted or non-hosted? Do they want just the amenities?
Luggage didn't make it, so how luggage can make it once they leave if they're.
I would call that seamless travel, making it or I would say call that making it seamless travel.
Right, the luggage delays and how they handle it.
Right.
You have insurance, and you have them, you know, you can go and you get some.
Right.
But I'm sort of MSC.
Did we put down like primary contact with the cruise line or like a representative that we keep in touch with?
Right. How do you actually book it? Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
so true.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I like to call. Some do it through GDS.
Did we
yeah,
consider
there's different
whether or
different
not
ways
they
you can. I think you can
wanted
actually even do
Virtuoso
some of it online now with virtuoso.com.
Okay, Virtuoso
Yeah.
Voyages.
So
Do they want
they're
it
not
to be
virtuoso.
hosted
Yeah.
or non-hosted? Yeah.
You have to have permission. You have to get permission from Valerie Wilson, I think, on that. Individually, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we can find out. Yeah. Good.
Are they interested in doing Virtuoso Voyage? Right? Is it a hosted or a non-hosted sailing that they're interested in?
And then there are some ships that will have a formal license.
You know, I think
Yeah.
a lot, and that makes me think because I'm just client personality.
Mhm.
Right? Because our expertise, we would know even if they come to you and say, my friends, abroad and kids, went on this with you, knowing your client and qualifying them.
And there are some ships that you make a reservation, and if you're traveling with a bigger group, you want to make sure that everybody gets on the same reservation. Mahogany is set, so how it's set together.
Right?
Foreign independent travel or yeah.
Okay. That's what we couldn't.
Put virtuoso voyages on there. That's a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's different
there's a couple
than
of different
voyages.
things, but basically it's
Yeah. So you can
independent
buy
travel where all
into
of
the
the
group
components are
that
built
group rates
independent,
that
is
Virtuoso
really what
already
it
has
is.
with many of the cruise lines.
It's not a package trip that you buy and it's all basically put together. All right, about another minute, so let's get those sticky notes finished up. Put on the board.
She said, started as a group, and then they get these amenities, and then if other people book into it, great, but they are.
Yeah.
She was like, you're not thought that's genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good. All right.
Starting a group that's coming up soon to may not always be the best. Are
Yeah.
getting ready. It's getting soon to them.
And I guess
releasing,
that's
like,
where
a
you
new
have
rate.
to see
Did
what's
I say
out
that
there.
right?
I didn't hear all of what you were saying, but have you talked about how are you actually booking it?
Okay,
How do you
let's get
actually
those last
book
sticky
it?
notes up there.
And that's one of the things you have to actually
All right.
do. Yeah.
The last thing we're going to do is for what we call an FI.
Hold on. Whoop. Hold on. We're moving on to the next thing. Even Jay can't keep this crowd quiet. Yeah.
All right, so use the green sticky notes. And this is for, who knows what FIT stands for?
Fully independent traveler.
Foreign independent
It actually
travel, basically.
Technically stands for foreign independent
Foreign
travel.
independent
But
travel. So that
fully
means
independent,
that
works
means
too.
it's a tour that you have to build all of the components of that trip. It's not a package, okay? So everything that you need to do to get that tour put together for your client. Again, 5 minutes for this one as well.
We went to Ireland and go to a bunch of cities and get a car and rent, or did we want to go to the cities and take this? So what we have to do is figure out where you're going. What was
Something like this, but you can get 15. You can have they build the ask them the commission.
So what do they have so far? Budget, research, hotels.
Brenda, could you make sure those are like on really good, because we're going to tear that off later. So just make sure the sticky notes are really on there well. Thank you. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
We've got a lot of sort of management, engineering. kinds of-
Your right hand in this
First,
situation.
you have to do this.
Do you have hotels up there?
I'm getting there. I can't write.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah. I mean, more than one person can write, but yeah.
Hotels. What else am I?
Yeah.
Right, Their reputation.
I'm gonna put Michigan. Do I have to? Yes, I agree, sir.
But that's some liability, slash mobility.
Big issue. Yeah.
You don't want to push it too hard.
Now, something that I don't see anyplace else, and this one really could be important, insurance. Do you have insurance? Oh, perfect. Okay, good, yeah. All right.
Yeah, we said it.
Mm-hmm. This group is so, they're all big planners. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to like that sort of random idea. This guy's like, well, no, first you have to do this.
Yeah.
Then you have to do this. Yeah. Different from this last group. Oh, yes, that's some of your secret sauce right there. Yeah.
But they're going to want to probably choose.
Good, okay. Destinations, client needs, mobility, activities. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just pummeling her with it.
Yeah. And she's writing nicely too. Yeah. Teacher mom. Be legible. Yeah. How about pace? Pace. Right. Maybe an FIT could be you're staying at a villa. You're in one place. So, what the pace and sort of the style that you're looking for. Yeah, private versus group tours? Yeah. Right. Or in building an FIT, you can think about sort of the drama of it.
About another minute, get your last green
You're starting
sticky
off
notes
at a
finished
great
up.
little hotel, and you go to some place that's a little more cozy, and you do something that's more rural, and then you end up at like the big ta-da, So that sort of, kind of the rhythm. Yeah, the ebb and flow of a trip. Yeah. Special occasions. Yep. Insurance.
That should be on everything.
Yeah. Ooh, currencies. Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
All right, last sticky notes on the board. Last sticky notes. This is the most organized group.
Oh, I know. Incredibly organized, yeah.
All symmetrical and in line. All right.
Okay.
All right, last sticky note.
All right, there it is. There's a lot to it, isn't there? There's a lot to it. Let's do just a couple little things from individuals here. So when it comes to hotels, verifying accessibility needs with the hotel property. So I know you guys are talking about steps and things like that. So understanding what the accessibility is of the property. Checking room, hotel and amenities. Price comparison. That's a very basic sales technique. Make sure that you are, yes, this is what they asked for. Here's something that pushes them a little bit, and maybe here's something that is also a lateral. So, and no one can choose beyond 3 things. You just confuse people. So just stick to 3. But that sort of price comparison out there, that's available. the style of the hotel. So you guys talk about the vibe of the hotel. You know, that's one of the things that you might be looking at. Actually making reservations. How do you actually make a hotel reservation? How do you make a hotel reservation, Brianna?
So I contact the hotel and usually reserve the room. Or
Okay, so you call the hotel directly. Who does it a little bit differently? Yeah, Heather.
90% do it online.
Online.
Yeah, I'll either do it through the GDS system or even the hotel itself's website.
Okay.
Throw in my added number there.
Okay, anybody else have a different angle?
We are just now starting to book through Virtuoso
The hotel.
website,
Mhm.
but then always contacting the primary sales contact to personalize it.
Right, okay, yes, Susie.
A lot of times I go, if it's a luxury hotel, I contact our Valley Wilson's contact directly
Right.
and ask them for the rates.
Right.
And
Exactly. Some of you will have, with particular hotel groups, for instance, maybe with Ritz or with Four Seasons, you may have somebody not only specific to Virtuoso when you go in and you look at the profile of the property and you see who the Virtuoso contact is, that's one thing. But you may also have somebody, because you do a lot of volume with somebody, that is like your person. So find out if that's true as well. So it can be, you know, online, GDS kind of situations, the hotel booking tool that Virtuoso has, calling directly with the hotel, always following up with your, you know, with your Virtuoso representative along the way. What else? Somebody else got something for hotels?
Can I just share an experience that just happened with me with regarding to calling the hotels direct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so being that I work for Ritz-Carlton, I've been very, very loyal to Marriott, and I would call Marriott to make my clients' reservations. Twice this year, when I've called and spoken to the representative, first thing, obviously, what do we survive on? Our commissions, right? We give them our IATA number. Twice out of 5 reservations this year, Marriott has said, I did not give them my IATA number and they did not owe me commission.
Oh, dear.
So I highly recommend making it online, taking a screenshot that you've entered your IATA number into that field, saving that, and then you always have a backup that you did, because it's happened to me twice in 5 months with Marriott. I owed 5 commissions from Marriott.
One other thing I noted with that is that you'll book something and they won't tell you that it's not commissionable upfront. So you
Yeah.
have to ask the question.
Yeah, so those are very specific things to ask. It's always good practice to take down the name of the person that you're booking it with, and so on. Yeah, so there's that. And then something else that you said that's very important, that we live on commissions alone. No, we don't. No, we don't. If you live on commissions alone, you're out of business. Right. So we have to start thinking beyond. This is our only way of being. That's not what you meant necessarily, but that's our only way of generating revenue. It's a major way of generating revenue, but it better not be the only way that you're generating revenue, you know, or you're in trouble. Because even at 10% or 8%, you're out of business. You can't survive on 10%. Can't do it. Other things that people have said here.
You didn't mention location. That's one of the most.
Location, very important. Yeah. Do you want to be in the right bank, the left bank, you know, out in the burbs? All sorts of different things along those lines. How about on cruises? And insurance. I hope everyone's got insurance in every single category. Yeah. How about on the cruise side of things? A couple of things back here. What are a couple of things that you've got on your list?
Cruising style.
A cruising style.
Getting the right cruise line with the client.
Yes, matching the product with the client. Yeah, even though they come in, because they only know what they know, they don't know what they don't know. You know, and they definitely don't know what they don't know. Okay, so it's a big thing. So they come in, they've got something from their brother-in-law, you know, or some friends who went on this trip and they had a fabulous time. Right. And you're going to hate this one. You know, this is so not your style. But it can be difficult to actually have that kind of a conversation. So matching the style of what it is that they actually want to experience. Yeah, what else have you got up there that's different?
I think it's important for them to know the type of excursions, but also
Mhm.
the cost of the excursion.
Yes. Are they inclusive? Is the pricing inclusive of that, of excursions? What are the choices that they have? If they're not included, do they need to be booked ahead of time? what is the cost of those things, and private excursions that you can book on your own using on-sites and so on. So that, that's not part of the equation at all. Many people don't want to take the ship excursions at all. And that's one of the things on a Virtuoso voyage, one of the voyages, there's always a private excursion that's just for the Virtuoso clients who are on that trip, which they are, everyone's like, why did you get to go on that trip? Well, yeah.
No, in the Largay forum, this was sort of posted the other day regarding cruises and shore excursions, is that if they're booked independently, they're not guaranteed. So for instance, if the cruise has to change the itinerary based on weather,
True.
and you've booked and paid for a tour and that's non-refundable, then the client is out. And it's only the cruise offered shore excursions that are 100% guaranteed.
Right.
If you go with an independent one, they may not get you back to the ship on time, or the itinerary could change, and then you have an angry client. So
Well,
I
yeah.
thought that was a helpful.
A good thing to bear in mind. Doesn't happen that often, but it would be something for you to be aware of. Anything else that you had on here for cruises? Or how about over here? What do you have on cruises that's a little bit additionally?
Well, both for hotels and cruises, we talked about the configuration. So if it's a family, for
Mhm.
example, you want connecting rooms or something like that.
Right.
Or if it's a cruise that includes dinner reservations, you need to get everybody in that group at the same time.
Right.
And if possible, create a group.
And if possible, create a group. Yeah, you were talking about creating a group. So and remember too, with whether hotels or with cruises, there's a difference between a connecting room and an adjacent room. And sometimes you can guarantee that connecting room, and sometimes you cannot. So you want to make sure that you understand what's going on, especially if there's little kids, or maybe if it's teenagers, it's even more important, out there as they sneak out in the middle of the night. Yeah. And how about on the FIT? Some things that were a little bit different here on the FIT side of things.
The purpose of the trip.
Okay, the purpose of the trip, which is true all the way across, absolutely, definitely true with the FIT. Let's see, you've got things like on-sites. So this was a new word for you.
I know, it sure was.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't know everything there is to know about Barcelona. So I'm going to contact the on-site to say,
Right.
Excuse me, can you help me for hotel and excursions and dining options? And they
Right.
are the experts. So I'm going to them
Mhm.
to give me that information so that I can give it back to my client. So then I look like the expert and the rock star.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. On-sites, the whole idea of on-sites, which are, and we'll talk about this even more specifically, but on-sites being companies that are located in the country or the region, as opposed to a tour operator who can be located in the United States or Canada or wherever, and operate into other countries. So the on-site is actually there in the country or there in the city. And it's actually the foundational element of Virtuoso. When Virtuoso got started back when, however many years ago it was based on the idea of having on-sites. That was the key ingredient to it. Anything else that somebody had on the on-site side of things, or FIT side of things?
Determine your planning fee.
Determine your planning fee. That's one of my biggies, okay, yeah, absolutely. And the truth is, all the way through here, but definitely when you're doing customized itinerary planning, yes, make sure that you understand your value in that equation. Anything else on the FIT side of things?
So there's like the length of trip and then how many
Yeah.
destinations maybe
Right.
they want to move around to. Some people are overly zealous with
Right.
you want to do all this in this amount of time, and that might be your point of stepping in and being like, but you also need some downtime, or you need to be able to
Right.
enjoy it. So again, using your knowledge of
Mhm.
that, or with the
Mhm.
on-sites to say
Uh-huh.
like, that sounds great, but you either have to extend the trip or maybe not go to different
Right,
places.
right. Helping people to understand pace and understanding that sort of, a style of things. Or just simply understanding distances. Oh, well, we'll just pop over here. It's like, well, that's 300 miles away, you know, looks close on a map, but not quite the same thing. Yeah, Susie. Yeah.
About refundable and non-refundable, and for them to make sure that they sign something, because if they wake up and they don't want to do the tour, you still have to pay for the tour.
Right.
And that's a big thing for educating them.
Yes. Helping them to understand that when you do book things ahead of time, there are ramifications if you decide last minute to, you know, to cancel things. Yeah, Yadi.
Use the resources from your tourism board.
Tourism boards, oh, they are so valuable.
Put together an itinerary.
Yes.
Ideas, experiences, and
Yes.
what's going on. And usually it's unbiased, not that our on-site
Right.
is biased, but at the end of the day, they're selling a product. And with
Right.
the tourism board, I feel that it's really unbiased
Right.
guidance and knowledge and expertise that they.
Yes, absolutely. When we've got, I don't know how many dozens of tourism boards that are part of Virtuoso as well, but tourism boards are a very, very valuable part of your researching and so on. So that's another good one. Yeah.
I would add in FIT, and something we didn't think about, it just came to me, itinerary management. So
Yes.
how is your client going to know? Are they
Right.
more old school and need a paper, very, you know, printed with all their documents?
Right.
Or are they going to do an access travel app with all of the
Right, exactly. You know, the technologies now with Access and UMapped and Travify, that I think all of your agencies probably have relationships, have contracts with different companies, so that it can all show up here and get updated here, you know, rather immediately, and you can put in notes and you can contact them that way. But that ain't going to work for everybody. So what works for one may not work for somebody else. Yeah, so knowing how best to deliver on those types of things. Yeah, and actually something else that is true all the way across here too, in what we do as advisors, is also in that final documentation. You know, how is it that we actually present this to our clients? You know, how is it that we've pulled this stuff together? And we'll talk a lot more about that actually tomorrow. So let's take it one more step here, and I want to talk to you a little bit. I think this was maybe touched on in your homework on the front end, but really helping to distinguish what is the difference between an agent, which is sort of the ubiquitous name for what we do, right? It's like, oh, you're a travel agent. Well, no, let me explain, okay? And so let's start looking at what these differences actually are. So we did some years ago, we actually started distinguishing this at Virtuoso and started really studying, because for years, for, you know, I don't know, 100 years, everybody in our business was a travel agent, right? And that's how we were known. And historically, that lived in a certain kind of context, and a lot of that history still lives out there. So, in understanding what the difference is, we started looking at the work of a fellow by the name of David Meister, who wrote a book called The Trusted Advisor. And this sort of goes across any kind of industry, but the elements to it are all the same. When we're working strictly as an agent, all right, when we're only looking at it from that point of view, where we're an agent for the tour operator or an agent for the cruise line, essentially, what our focus is on is delivering information. And information is the dates, the rates, the rooms, you know, that sort of thing, that basic information. Our relationship type tends to fall into a transactional arena. Let's get the business done. Let's close the deal. You know, always hearing about that kind of closing the deal. We don't operate quite that same kind of way, and we have to close the deal, all right? But transactional is where we're, our relationship. And when we operate at this place, the difference, the point of differentiation between us and maybe what they found online or what they found down the street is cost. How many of you have ever been, you know, had to deal with, well, I found it cheaper. Yeah. I found it cheaper at Costco. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I found it cheaper online, or I found this, You know, when we operate here, that is the only thing that we got to fight against. And here's the other thing. You will never win on cost alone. You'll never, ever win on cost alone. It's a factor, but if it's the only factor, then we're going right up against, you know, all the ITAs or OTAs rather, the online travel agencies, all the ones that are out there and all the ones that are going to continue to come. But let's elevate our game just a little bit and start focusing on solutions. So now somebody comes and they've got a wedding anniversary trip that's like complicated or is a surprise. You know, they need a solution to something. Or they've got 3 generations from all over the country or all over the world that they're trying to gather in one place. They got a problem. And your relationship here has moved from just being transactional to actually solving a problem that you've helped to identify. Big deal. And our point of differentiation now becomes something that is much more difficult to put a price tag on, and that is your knowledge. And the knowledge not only that you have, but the knowledge that exists in this room, and the knowledge that exists between 20,000 travel advisors in the Virtuoso network, and all of the agencies and all of the partners that we have out there. Our knowledge base is vast. And it's well beyond what you alone know. So that becomes important. Take it up one more step. And now we're talking about new ideas. So they're coming in with, here's what we want to do. And having had a conversation with them and finding out about them and the kind of vibe that they like and kind of who they are. And it's like, I know you're kind of thinking this direction, but let me just toss out a couple of new ideas, a couple of different things that perhaps you didn't know you didn't know. All right? So new ideas. Here's where we start leading the way, right? Relationship types now. Now we're into insight. We're being a valuable resource for our clients. Yeah, I know what they read in the paper, and I know what they read in the magazine or what they saw on TV, but they come to you to either have it validated or to come up with different ideas. And our point of differentiation now is creativity. Totally different experience. Totally different experience. And finally, as Meister describes it, when we're operating from that place of trusted advisor, now we're operating from a place of our first focus is on understanding. Understanding our client, understanding their motivations, understanding why they're traveling at all. Maybe understanding where the burst of travel interest came from to begin with. You know, like we did in our little icebreaker this morning. What was your path to travel? You know, finding out that your father was a diplomat, you know, and you traveled all over the world. That's a good thing to know. It's a pretty sophisticated come from. So understanding, which is all the questioning and all the listening and so on, our relationship now is collaborative so that we're working with them. We're not working for them. We're working with them. One of the things that you guys, almost every one of you mentioned, was that one of the reasons that you got into this business is because you loved to do the planning. You fell in love with this travel planning part of things. Now, you're going to have clients who feel the same way. They want to be a part of it. One of the number one complaints that travelers have about working with travel agents is that they take it over. And all the fun of the planning is no longer in their hands. So you want to be collaborative as well as managing the disparate ideas that a client might have and keep working that into the management of the trip. But cutting them completely out may not be the best idea. And then you're going to have clients who go, just do it. Send me the bill at the end. You know, I don't care. So they want nothing to do with it other than here's where we want to go, whatever. And then you do it. So the collaboration type of thing here. And then a big point of differentiation. Now you have a personal bond that you've established early on with your clients. And one of the reasons that this is so important is that very often as new advisors, no matter how sophisticated our backgrounds might be, we can come in a comfort zone area right here in disseminating the information as opposed to tapping into our knowledge or tapping into our creativity and having the confidence to go there from the very beginning. So the point of actually looking at this is to understand that where you start with a client, where you start as a virtuoso professional travel advisor, is here. You start with your focus on understanding. You start with your focus on collaboration. That's why that collaborative travel planning process is so important. You start with developing connection immediately in your relationship. And yes, you'll get into the new ideas and solutions, and you'll close the deal, because you have to transact it too, and get all this stuff done, and collect your commissions, and all that sort of nitty-gritty. You have to do all of that. But if we just stay here, we're going to be fighting against all of the masses out there that are fighting for the price alone. And so starting at the top and then weaving your way through will be an important thing to remember. Here's another way of kind of thinking about this. This is an old-fashioned value pyramid, all right? There's data, bottom of the pyramid, lots of it, ubiquitous, especially with the advent of the information society. It is everywhere. Anybody, okay? This is actually on camera, so I won't say what I was going to say. But anybody can go online and book a cruise. Anybody. My brother can go online and book a hotel, right? And his go-to is, I don't know, Trivago or whatever it's called, all right? Anybody can do that. So there's a lot of this out there. There's even a fair bit of information, which is taking that data and actually interpreting it on some level, right? But there's not a lot out there that really speaks to knowledge. And where there's less, it's more valuable. And definitely not a lot out there when it comes to real wisdom. Not out there in the general OTA world out there. So that's what it is that you have to sell. Not the data. Data's available. What you have to sell is the wisdom, the knowledge, the creativity that you have out there. So, and you've got that handout there. So where are we on our time here? Do you want to take a break before?
We can finish this up.
Okay.
We get this piece then before we finish up the exercise. But
okay.
I think, let's finish this part up here.
All right. So, and I got one more little thing here I want to talk to here. So here's kind of some interesting comparisons, a way for you to think about an agent versus an advisor. We all go to grocery stores. We all buy goods and services for our homes, right? And we go to the checkout line and they run it across the scanner and bag it and away we go. Got it. So that's one way to buy our groceries. Here's another way to buy our vegetables and our fruits and our honey and our peanut butter, out there. And that is at the farmer's market. So we can get it here, but we can get it here as well. What's the difference? What happens at the farmer's market? Summer has just ended here in North America. So what's it like to go to the farmer's market? Summer.
Well, it's somebody that you trust and you can build a relationship with.
Okay. Why? Why can we do that? Yeah.
There's conversation back and forth.
Right. Exactly. Not just where is the peanut butter, aisle 7, right? Or let me walk you there. That's pretty good service. I'll show you where it is. But yeah, so there's that. What else happens? Yeah.
Directly and locally sourced. They tell you about
Yeah, they know their product. It's locally sourced. It's you're talking to the farmer, Yeah, exactly. You know, it was like this. I pulled this from the field at 5 o'clock this morning and drove into the market. So you have a very intimate relationship with it. What else is true at the farmers market?
It's more fun.
It's for some people. Some people hate farmers markets. You know, it's like what? That's it's like there's dirt. Yeah. So it's not for everybody, but for you, it's a lot of fun. For me, it's a lot of fun. What else do we know about a farmer's market versus at the grocery store? What's that? It costs more. Yeah. You're probably going to pay more here. It's going to be fresher. It's going to last longer. But on the front end, you're going to pay a little bit more. Yeah, and sometimes you're going to pay a lot more. Yeah. Okay.
This example can be misconstrued as it's better to skip an advisor and go direct to the property. Have you thought about it that way?
No, you're the first one. But I haven't thought about that. Yeah.
Because it's almost like cutting out the middleman and going direct to the source. And in reality, we are somewhat of a middleman.
No, we're the source, honey. We're the source. What's for sale are the vegetables.
Or an on-site.
Yeah.
I'm not the source building a hotel, but it's just interesting the different perceptions.
Okay. Well, I hadn't thought about that. I would say that we're the farmers, and our product is the vegetable. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
So that's a little bit. That's as the middle person, as the farmer.
Yeah.
As the grower. Who knows all about the terroir and knows all about the weather conditions this summer and so on. I've got a knowledge and creativity and wisdom that
makes that product.
Right.
Got it.
Radishes are radishes.
I'm on board with you.
Okay, got it? Did I pivot on that pretty well?
Good sales pitch.
Good, okay. Here's another one. These are boxes of wine. All right? There's actually some decent boxed wine out there, and if you're throwing a party for whatever, it's like you could do it, right? So that's one experience, and this is a different experience, all right? So working with the sommelier. So what are the differences? When you work with a sommelier, what are some of the things that you experience out there? The knowledge, right. Customized recommendations. Well, what are you having for an entree? So it's like pairing things. They're an expert.
They're understanding your needs and your preferences.
Yes.
They can explain what you're experiencing.
That's right.
You can just drink any box wine or any other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your experience is enhanced even in the tasting of it, and they take into consideration your budget. I think there are some restaurants where maybe the sommelier is there to take you to the most expensive page first, but mostly you're going to work with a sommelier who's going to go, what are you eating? Do you have a budget consideration, for this, or, and go from there. So it's a very different experience.
What you like, right?
Yeah, what you like. What have you liked in the past?
They can match one that you haven't heard of yet.
Yes.
And say you should try this.
Yes.
Like we do, where have you been? What did you like? Let's try something new.
Absolutely. I love it. Kip.
Some can take the time to drill down further through
Yes.
these types of questions.
Right.
To get more about what you want, what you like, what you need, what you've enjoyed in the past,
Right.
what's different about this time.
Mhm.
That you can't get just from reading the box that says, oh, bouquet of pineapple.
Yeah. There's a little pineapple on the, on the after, on the aftertaste. Yes, wonderful.
What I like about this particular picture for me as a newbie is that when you look at the box, whatever it is, even if it wasn't boxed and it was just in the store, like wine,
Right.
you see what you see and that's it. But it's
Right.
almost like when you Google something, you get your, whatever came up on the SEO search. But if you go to this, there might be something that he has locked up behind the scenes that nobody has access to or you can't see. So it's only what you see,
Right.
what you have in front of
Right.
you
Yeah.
versus 16 layers below.
That's right. Not on the wine list, but who came in yesterday and we tasted their latest vintage of, oh my God.
Or what's coming in next week.
Or what's coming in next week.
So
Absolutely.
I think the idea of the peeling of
Right.
the onion is very, to me,
Right.
as a newbie.
And sometimes this can be when you're trying to explain what the difference is between you and a travel agent. you can say, well, it's maybe the difference between going to a grocery store and going to the farmer's market. You know, I'm that farmer I'm the grower, you know, at the farmer's market, or I'm the sommelier. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes that can be helpful as well. We have things like this in marketing. Okay, this is all virtuoso marketing that you guys have available. If luxury travel were a fine wine, we'd be your sommelier. Okay? If it was a 5-star meal, we'd be your master chef. If it was a masterpiece, we'd be your curator. So these are all available to you. These might be something that when you're trying to get your name out there and let people know what's going on for you, this might be something to help explain that. And I think we've got these, but there's a number of others that we have available as well.
Coffee one too, like the barista coffee one.
Yep. Yeah, there is. Yeah. We'll look at that on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jay is going to move you through and see where all of this stuff is located.
Yeah.
But just so you know, this helps to actually reinforce this idea that we're not travel agents. We're something else.
Yeah.
We're something else. So
let's take a break. 10:25.
Okay.
Come back at 10:25.
Good. Okay, so let's wrap up this with the next step of this exercise.
Next step of the exercise. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the sticky notes, and as a table, you have to decide where that sticky note goes on the next page of the flip chart. Is it in stage 1 where it's transaction or cost based, or is it a trusted advisor where it's more about the relationship? So each one of those sticky notes is going to fall someplace, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes to have, 10, 15 minutes to have a conversation about each of those, figure out where they go on that flip chart, and then make sure you get them all up there. And if you have questions as you go, let us know. Yeah, take that first page off and just put that on the table. There we go.
And some of them might fall on a line,
yeah,
you know, but
and they could end up in more than one place.
Right.
So just figure out where the best place for them is. All right?
I'd certainly put it in knowledge. Yes, it has a cost to it, but even offering it is a knowledge-based thing, to know that you really need to be insured for things. Oh, no, put them both up there, that's fine. In the different colors, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Put them both up there, yeah. Right there. Yeah, there you go.
Everybody should be involved in getting these up there, so look at them. How about we put that here on the table, and that way you can all have a conversation about them. There we go. There you go.
Style, vibe, those are all questions you ask an advisor. We're getting up a little higher. Salt. That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say it's
No. They can not on the line.
Oh, they can't call.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's right. Yep.
Bacon.
I'm sorry, that is.
To get people to come in and speak to 3Cs.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause that
Ooh.
was.
They've done the same thing. They put it on the line, and that's not legal. Uh-oh.
Can't do that?
Jay's.
I'm kidding.
Or it can be creativity,
I worked with Centra. We just realized that I coordinated calendars.
Oh,
with
wow.
her. She was managing the person that came to speak at my events.
Funny.
I know.
Right.
What a small world. We just had to fly 3,000 miles to figure that out.
Yeah. That sounds good.
What?
He was gonna chastise us because we have stuff on the borders.
On the line, yeah.
It's your story. Tell it the way you want to.
That's the advisor stage 2. Yeah. You think that's good? Okay.
On the
Well, you
line.
know what? Depends on
Mhm.
what it is. People can improve them. You can share information.
You know, actually, another person that actually works with us that has a relationship with you guys is Glenn Stewart. He does
upgrade.
I feel like you gotta have some knowledge from it.
Great, definitely, I think a little more into the, I would say expert. Don't you think?
So where do we think client?
Trusted advisor.
I'd say trusted advisor, yeah. Because it's getting to know that client.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
GM prior to email prior would be trusted advisor, I believe. This would be creativity, knowing their opinion.
Mhm.
But you know what, but I don't think it's really.
Shipboard credits. Where's that going to go?
Knowledge.
Probably knowledge. Yeah, knowledge.
Exactly.
It's like, well, do you offer credit? I'm like, do I ask for your pay?
Yeah.
Isn't that a lot of times provided from the cruise ship though? I mean, it's like, it wouldn't come out of ours. It's just.
No, it doesn't come out of your
Oh, but you're
commission.
saying, but then they're not booking an extra.
They're looking to get it back too. Get it back. They're looking to get a dollar amount back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they want that.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're, well, I heard that, you can get an onboard credit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not why you should be looking for a cruise, because you
Right.
want an onboard credit.
Right.
You want a vacation, you want,
I know.
So, I mean, that's, I would say that would be stage 3.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, that involves our knowledge of, yeah, definitely too.
Location, what do you want location?
We like this, we do.
Have a bond with us.
Yeah, that could be.
All right. Yeah, they can fit into a lot of different categories. Oops. Yeah. Cabin location. Okay. Cabin location obviously goes under knowledge, but it also is what are the implications of that cabin location.
Right.
So there's kind of two different places that it can be. Same with shore excursions. Determine planning fee. What's included? Patrols of voyages. Personal welcome note. Excursions and tours. Yeah. Yeah, like excursions and tours, obviously it can be there. It can be under creativity. It could be under knowledge as well. Sure, yeah.
I like location being there because they might think they want to go somewhere just because they haven't been there. And
Right.
Say, well, if you don't like cruise crowds,
Yeah.
then go to Verona instead of
That's right.
Venice, so we can just
Right. And that's one of the hardest things to do is to talk people out of what's already in their heads.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do Rome, Florence, Venice in July. You know, you and however many millions other people.
Not to mention the
In one day each, exactly, yeah. Do I really need more than one day in Florence?
And how about the Venetians who say, I'm sorry, we're full today, you can't come.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is on its way, I'm afraid.
Yes, yeah, it is.
In Rome too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Good, okay. Looks like we got things all over the boards here. All right, so when we look at some of these things, obviously, and we were just talking about like shore excursions. Shore excursions can certainly live in the arena of a trusted advisor, you know, but it also falls into the category of knowledge, to know that they even exist, you know, or that they perhaps can be private, and they could also fall under creativity. So, you know, these things can fall into a lot of different categories. Where is it? Well, you guys ended up, you kind of started, these guys are like, we got the program, we got this like project manager over here. There was a whole table full of like, it's like, well, now let's start at stage 1, you know, and they looked through and they found all the stage 1 things, yeah. But, yeah, and those guys, look at those guys. They're like clearly very creative. They're all over the place, yeah. No rhyme or reason to any of it, yeah, yeah. But let's see, let's just look at some of the things that you guys have. And some of you will have, you know, much of the same thing. First off, just what's something that you notice? And just looking at everybody's, other than, you know, these guys are like super neat over there. They were very neat. Okay. What do you notice? What's an observation that you have just in looking at this, you know?
All the different colors.
Yeah, it's very mixed up, isn't it? It's all over the place. And it isn't necessarily more in one area than the other, you know? You're crossing across all of these boundaries all the time. When it comes to this sort of stage 1 here, you had like budget, the actual reservation, discounts might fall on here, confirming the room, you know, the hotels themselves, the duration could be here. But duration also could probably fall into another category too, couldn't it? This might be the duration that the client says.
Yes.
And after you've started talking with them here, and that duration suddenly changes to a couple more days, or that pace, now they're going to spend, you know, we were just talking that, you know, Rome, Florence, Venice, you know, it's like, and one night in each in July, you know, that kind of thing. And do I really need to spend more than one day in Florence? You know, that kind of, because you get that kind of question. And it's like, well, you know, you can spend one day in Florence, and let me creatively and knowledgeably tell you about all the other things based on what it is I know about you that you're going to be interested in seeing. So that's why starting here is so important. Starting at the top, which is all about that getting to know them and that personal collaboration and so on, so that you're really digging deeply into what it is that is in their head, not just what's in their budget and not just what's in their preconceptions, you know, of what it is that they think. They're coming to you as an advisor, even if they think they're coming to you as an agent. Okay? And that's where you start making the shift and making sure that they understand how it is that you operate and giving them this very different kind of experience about building a relationship. So, you know, the logistics, the cities, the programs, the vibe, the, what's that, rate eligibility? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Dining, transfers, insurance. So we had a conversation about, well, now is insurance down here or is it here? I'm going to say that it's at least here. Because an agent may or may not ever offer insurance. And so that's going to be a really important, you won't necessarily see that on an online, you know, to buy insurance kind of thing. So yeah, we're all over the place. And one of the things, again, that is so important is that we start our conversations at the top, that we start as trusted advisor. And this is where, here's another little, you know, little example or another little analogy. You can, our clients can look out at the stars, they can look out at the heavens, and they can admire the heavens, and they can admire all these beautiful stars on a nice clear night out there and looking up there. But if you're standing there looking at the skies and you're there with an astronomer or somebody who knows and can point out, oh, those are the Pleiades. Let me tell you about, you know, that mythology. You have a whole different understanding of what's available out there. So you're there as that astronomer. You're there with the telescope, helping people to really look beyond what they already know, and looking much more deeply into these itineraries and into their own budgets and into their own expectations. Talking with people about what vibe even is, you know, helping to understand what all the different elements are when you're talking about a multi-generation clientele or trip that's out there. So an advisor is a lot of different things. And at the very least, one of the things that an advisor has to be is empathetic. And I think it was Scott who, the first thing this morning, talking about one of the more important elements that comes with this role is around listening. Because the fastest way into somebody's heart is by actually listening to them. We live in a society that doesn't listen, that actually puts a value on not listening. There's so much noise out there. So when we look at this and we see our little peanuts here, so what do you think? Well, what difference does it make? You never listen anyway. Well, I was just making conversation. Well, then you have to make conversation you have to listen to. You do? You have to listen. And we have to listen with the intention of understanding, not just responding. And that, too, is something that can be a bit of a take a breath, because we're busy trying to think about, well, what else do I need to know about somebody? But listening with the intention of understanding is awfully important here. One of the best ways to persuade others is with your ears. Listening to them with your ears. And there's some interesting statistics, too, when it comes to how we spend our time communicating. We spend, you know, a considerable amount of our time actually in communication throughout the course of a day. But, and we start breaking that down, almost half of it is spent in listening, a third of it in speaking, increasingly smaller amount in reading, an even smaller amount, former English literature teacher here, in writing, okay? So, and all of which, you know, all of which is important, and the reading and the writing, obviously a very important aspect of what's going on, but just on the listening side of things, something that's pretty interesting is that within 24 hours, 50% of what we have listened to we'll forget. You know, unless we have some tools or some methods for helping us to remember, which is why you guys, you know, are taking notes though. It's the skill in which we have the least training. Of all the things when you think about in school, you spent, you know, you had to do little projects where you had to speak and you had to, you know, do your writing and you had to do your reading. Very rarely did it come up, even in grade school, about listening, other than listen, you know, that kind of thing. And tests confirm, you know, again, that within, you know, like I say, 24 hours, half of it's gone. Within 48 hours, another half is gone. So now we're down to 25% retention. And so as you know, the older we get, the harder it gets, okay? I know that from experience out there. So, in fact, I think we've got a little quiz on listening. Do we have that little quiz, Jennifer?
No, we don't.
Oh, we don't. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that. We got another little thing for you here. Okay. So we're going to actually go on to doing a couple of little experiences here to, again, kind of remind ourselves about the whole issue of listening and empathetic listening. Listening with the intention of understand, active listening or reflective listening, sometimes it's called. Listening and responding to another that improves mutual understanding. And remember, as a trusted advisor, that's our focus, is in understanding. So that's where we're going to start here and start building that trust. So we've got a couple of kind of grade school exercises here.
We do.
All right, because you didn't learn this in grade school, we're going to take you back to grade school.
Exactly.
All right?
All right, so just start A, B, A, B. A's. I would ask that you leave the room, please. Ooh. A's, leave the room.
Yes. These are the A's?
Yeah.
Yeah. We should go outside. That's what we should do. Yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right. Okay, so just pass those around here. Now, this isn't brain surgery, what we're doing here, okay? Now, just everybody gets one. Everybody gets one. I think there's probably one for everybody there.
Let's see, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Danny? I'll need you as one of these. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to come in, and they have a card. They're going to talk to you about the city or town where they grew up. So what you're to do is, as it says, is every time they say something or talk about something that you think you should ask a question on or that you're interested in, or it brings up something that you're like, oh, that's, all you're going to do is raise your hand and put it down. Just raise your hand and put it down. Don't hold it up. Just raise your hand and put it down. Every time something pops into your mind that you want to ask a question or something, you know, exciting happens, just raise your hand and put it down. That's all you're going to do, okay?
You ready?
Nope, you ignore them.
Ooh, big instructions.
Nope, no talking. Yes, we're ready, Helen, come on in. And I'll get you a
What's
chair,
that?
Danny.
You already know what you're
I know.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
No.
Yes, you do.
No. This is just have a chat. Okay, here we go.
That's it. Come on back in.
Come on back in. No.
Yes, go sit down in your chair and face someone at your table. Some of you may need to turn your chair to face somebody at a different table. So you should have at least someone that you're making eye contact with. Yeah? Okay, so yeah, Cindy, if you want to turn around and face Lori, you two, you two, you two, you two, you two, you two, you two. Perfect. Okay. All right, now I'm going to give you 30 seconds to talk about your city or town where you grew up, okay? You may begin. And time.
Whoa, that was pretty short. Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Put those cards up into the center of your table, so we don't want to confuse them. Get all the cards put up in the center of your table.
We'll talk about this a little bit later.
We will. We're going to debrief this. Okay. All right. Bees, you may leave the room.
Oh, no, the bees get to leave the room. Yes, yes. You're speedy. Okay, it's right down there. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Oops, excuse us.
Here you go.
There you go.
Now this is hard. This is hard. But basically, okay, so they're going to come back in and they're going to talk about their first car or bicycle, okay? Talk about their first car by 30 seconds. You cannot make eye contact with them basically. Okay? You got to look down, look up, look at their shoulder, but you can't make eye contact. All right? And you know, they may say what's going on, but you just have to just not be engaged. Okay? And it's going to be tough, but that's what you need to do. You no?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I practice this every day.
Exactly.
So I'm no,
Exactly.
you can't do
Yeah,
it.
good. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's see what
So
these
we're
guys
gonna
are gonna be up to.
we're gonna debrief everything, so you'll
It is
understand.
sort of like in
All right.
like third grade, isn't it? Yeah, a little bit.
Ollie,
Okay.
oxen free.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Actually, I used to teach negotiations, and we always did this when we would give secret instructions, and the people that left always got ambushed.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah, it was
exactly,
fun.
exactly. Here you come. Easy instructions.
All right. So speakers, you will have 30 seconds, and as your card said, you're going to talk about the first car or bicycle that you owned. Well, I'm giving you 30 seconds. I'm changing the rules. That's what we do. Okay. Are we ready? You may begin.
And I got it from my mom.
Now we're not doing Jay. We're not doing this. That
We are
finished
not.
my line. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and here's our listening quiz.
She brought them up.
Yeah.
And time.
All right.
Okay, again, put the cards into the center of the table. Cards to the center of the table.
Okay, first off, who had a really great car or bike? Yeah, Valerie, tell us about your car or
My
bike.
first car was a 1968 baby blue Mercedes.
Hello.
So I was really like trying to share this great story.
And she was like,
It's hard I was getting nothing back.
getting nothing back. Oh my God. Okay. Well, obviously, there were a couple little tricks up the sleeve here to throw people off. So what was going on? What she wasn't interested. She obviously wasn't interested.
Well, for the first one, what was going on for the first one? Let's go back
with
to
the
the
hands
first one
up.
with a hand, right? So for you speakers, hold on. hold on. For you speakers, what was going on for you as you were trying to communicate and this person was raising their hand? What was going on for you? Okay.
It was distracting.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thought something was going on here.
All right. Yeah. All right.
What did you say,
I thought
Cindy?
she had a lot of questions or she wanted to high five me.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever it was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was distracting, wasn't it? Yeah.
And for you listeners, what?
I found it validating. I found them engaged.
I wanted her to raise her hand. I was like trying to give her more interesting information.
Okay.
Oh, you thought she was because it was
Okay.
interesting.
All right.
Okay. So what actually was it for those of you who were the listeners? What was the instruction? Why were you raising your hand?
Because normally I would have interrupted and asked a question.
Okay, so it was you wanted to ask a question? Okay.
Or something popped into their minds, right?
It was relevant to what they were talking about. Like,
Uh-huh.
I identified with, being from Boston because I love Boston, something.
Okay. Okay.
It's a good exercise to keep.
Or notes to have about
Yeah.
that person for follow-up in the future, or things they might be interested if they come across my desk, so I could send them information or articles.
Okay.
That relate to where they're from, or.
Okay. Okay.
I'm actually a really bad listener. I don't learn very well from auditory means.
Uh-huh.
And my mind drifts a lot. But I was so scared of being rude that I was like this. And I didn't raise my hand once. So.
Oh.
See,
So what was probably distracting for Amanda was that she had somebody gazing in her eyes. Yeah, really. What were the instructions? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So what was the learning out of that? With that as the situation, I wanted to ask a question or I wanted to find out more about, whatever. What was maybe the learning in something like this for you?
Really just kind of keeping a check on yourself and to your own listening patterns or
Yeah. Yeah.
the way you react when somebody else has body language.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of putting a check on our desire to interrupt, maybe, or to comment or something, to actually stop and listen. Yeah.
And to think about, if we were having that same conversation over the phone, and that person was not in front of me, and they could not see that I was doing this, that's really important. The paralinguistics of whatever kinds of conversation we have a huge impact
Yes.
on how we are perceived and how the person is able to communicate.
Absolutely. So there's a lot to just kind of in this little exercise. There's a lot to actually be learned about how it is that we listen, how uncomfortable it is to keep our mouths shut. How things keep popping into our heads, when we're listening. How about on the second one?
Yeah, for the second one. As the speaker, what was going on for you?
When you were talking about your
when
bike.
you were talking about
your
your
car.
bike. What's
Okay.
that? Hold on. Scott, what was that?
I said getting no reaction.
Hang on, you guys, hang on.
Because I've told this story before, and I know where the funny parts are, and
Sorry. And I'm not a good monologuer, so I was losing my train of thought, because I could see what she was doing, understanding, but so then I've got to have this whole dialogue on my own. I think that was different.
Okay, so as a speaker, you want some of that interaction to support your speaking.
I was thinking about that, how we're so wired now for disruption on both ends, that it's expected that so it's almost like if you're speaking,
Interesting.
you know someone's going to because that's the way conversation sadly goes.
Even if
Uh-huh.
you get a cue that they're listening to you, like, oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
Where you get nothing, then you're like, are you still there? Hello?
Yes. Yeah. Because what was the objective? What was the instruction for you as the listener in this scenario?
No eye contact.
That's right. That's right. So for you as the listeners in this situation, it was to not have those, consciously not have those interactions, not to have the eye contact, not to have any ahas, not to have any interesting, none of that stuff. None of that stuff. So how did that feel for you as the speaker, other than it's hard to have a monologue? How did it actually feel? Stop to think about how it felt.
I felt self-conscious.
You felt self-conscious.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Well, first she kept looking at my hair, and I wanted to touch it, like, or when someone, maybe there's something in your teeth. And she was really there. And she said she didn't hear or remember anything I said.
That's right.
Oh, really?
So intently on not looking at it. It was so hard not to make eye contact.
That you ended up not hearing anything at all.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, Debbie. Hang on.
Aside from feeling rude and knowing that I was making her feel uncomfortable, I'm a very visual person.
Uh-huh.
So by not looking at her, I was able to perfectly visualize the bike she was describing, and I could see it in my head.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So by actually not having that, you had more of an opportunity to actually visualize this. Anything else? Anything else that kind of came up? Yes. Yeah.
As the speaker, knowing what was going on, I heard my own inner voice almost becoming louder as the time went on. So so she said I got a little louder. As she didn't pay attention, my inner voice was saying, well, she doesn't care. She's not looking at me. So there were two conversations happening.
Yes.
What am I supposed to be telling her? But what is she telling me? And that got louder as the
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So the inner dialogue with the client, okay, the client who's doing the speaking here, the inner dialogue when there is no kind of feedback, there's no empathy being shown, is like, hello out there, what's going on? Are you listening to me at all? One of the things that you'd pointed out, Kip, was in the advising here was this giving feedback and reflecting and so on, receiving and responding out there. So how we do that, and when we stop to think about it, we have to do it not only face to face, but we have to do it over the phone, right, in our voices. We have to do it by email, which is even trickier. And then in some cases, even text. So, and we also have to bear in mind that there are regional differences in how people communicate. There's certainly cultural differences, different parts of the world, different parts of the country that are part of it, and also languages. Marlene was French was obviously your first language, so speaking English is a second language to you. Yeah. So there'll be differences that you would have experienced when you were still, English was definitely a second language for you. Yeah, right. And for those of you who speak Spanish fluently, it's still a second language. It's still not the same fluency as as we have it as a first language in most cases. Some of us aren't even fluent in a first language, but all that being said, these are huge pieces. Yeah, Jay.
No, I was going to say let's do the.
Okay. So here was the one other little test of our listening. So on the flip on a blank sheet somewhere.
Yeah, someplace on your blank sheet, we're going to ask you some questions from our introductions this morning. Don't say it out loud. So just write down who this was in our introductions this morning. Okay?
You mean who said it?
Yeah.
Yes, who said it? Okay. All right, number one. Who is our token Canadian? Quietly, don't. Okay. 2, whose favorite breakfast is pizza? Okay. 3, who retired from a career in healthcare? Okay. 4, Who loves biscuits and gravy? Okay. 5. Who is our yoga teacher? 6. Who should we thank for Wi-Fi and movies when we fly? Okay. 7. This person worked for Sun Microsystems. And 8. Eggs Benedict in bed in a 5-star hotel is my favorite breakfast. Okay. Number 2, yes. Whose favorite breakfast is pizza? What was number 2? All right. Summer, who's our token Canadian? Valerie. Okay.
All right. Oh,
excellent.
Canada.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Nora, whose favorite breakfast was pizza? You're not okay. Yes.
Who do you think it was?
Summer.
Summers. Oh.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Kip, who retired from a career in healthcare? Okay.
Yes.
Bridget. Who loves biscuits and gravy? Cindy?
Shannon.
All right. Shannon. Who is our yoga teacher? Angela. Okay. Who should we thank for Wi-Fi and movies when we fly? Yeah. And this person would work for Sun Microsystems. That's our token male. Oh, no, sorry. And final, Eggs Benedict in bed in a 5-star hotel is my favorite breakfast.
That was Amanda. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Good. All right. All right. Yeah. So not bad for not knowing that you were necessarily listening, but you were listening in terms of like, oh, these are my new friends, these are my new colleagues out here. So we were kind of listening to all of that, even though it was kind of a silly thing that we were talking about. But actually brings us to another kind of little point here around listening. I mean, we can't emphasize enough how important the whole experience of listening is. Well, here's 10 steps to better listening. The first one is stop talking. You know, I mean, we talk a lot. This is a friendly, engaging kind of business. But also one of the things that we do is we talk. Salespeople talk a lot. And at the end of the day, we're salespeople. You know, we do have that as you know, one of the most important things out there. And very often as well, we'll get so excited. You know, somebody's wanting to, you know, to travel to the Amalfi Coast, and we're like, whoa, you know, the Amalfi Coast, oh, it's so fabulous. You know, and away we go. You know, and we get so excited. We get so excited, and as we're like, oh, the Amalfi Coast. Let me tell you about this and this hotel and this, all the sort of stuff. What's happening? And we're not listening because I'm so busy talking. It is one of the most important things as we enter into these exciting conversations where we have experience in these areas is this isn't about us, this is about them. Your experience will enter into the conversation. You know, maybe, oh, I'm with you on that. I love the Amalfi Coast. But your trip to the Amalfi Coast isn't the subject at hand. Preparing yourself to listen. How do you actually, when you stop to think about it now, how do you actually really prepare yourself to listen? Maybe even physically prepare yourself to listen. Okay, you might have to like take a breath. Okay. Okay, you might be looking, if you're face to face, establishing eye contact.
So, a child recently, you know, holding the phone and says, Mommy, I need you to listen with your whole face.
Whoa, yeah.
A child told you that. You
Yes.
listen with your whole face.
Right, from the mouths of babes. Yes, absolutely. How else do you actually think about, if not in this career, your former career, when you really had to listen to a client, what else did you do? You got rid of the distractions. Yeah, exactly. You know, you may have even swiveled your chair so that you were facing the wall or a window so that you weren't seeing your 2 or 3 monitors that were behind you, so that you really could listen. What else do you do to actually prepare to listen?
Change your position. In other words, if you're behind a desk and somebody is coming to talk to you in front, you move, come out from behind the desk and face each other.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that you guys have been doing, that Marlene is doing right now, you may be preparing yourself to take notes, you know, so you have to get a clean piece of paper out, or you have to, you know, get things prepared that way. Putting the speaker at ease, we had a little lesson in how not to do that, you know, in these last couple of exercises. But putting our speaker at ease, like how? So give me some examples of that. Removing barriers would be a good example of that. What else, Brianna?
So not writing?
Oh, maybe it might be not writing, or maybe it's saying, here's what I'm going to be doing. Is it okay with you if I take a couple of notes while we're talking? Because it is hard to remember all these things. Even when you're on the phone and you're typing away, you know, ask permission, you know, or explain. If you hear the keyboards clacking in the background, let me tell you, it's because I'm taking notes of our conversation. Okay? Yeah.
Tendency to just out of comfort cross my arms, but I understand that's not a receptive posture position.
Yeah.
So I have to consciously.
Kind of consciously.
Then I don't know what to do with my arms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that there's a difference between crossing your arms and crossing your arms. Yeah. So that may be in the, you know, the attitude of that too. But putting our speaker, putting whoever is doing the speaking at ease, removing distractions, right? Okay. Jay and I both do a lot of, you know, webinars and stuff like that. Here's what happens. All right. You're busy at your desk, and you're listening to the module on whatever it is that I'm yakking about, and you minimize me over here. Oh yes, right. And you've got one of your earbuds in, the other one is open so you can hear whatever else is going on, and you're finishing up that France itinerary in the meantime. That's what happens. So removing distractions, and distractions really do show up in so many different ways now, you know. And the same thing for our clients. You know, these phones are constantly buzzing in our faces. The whole idea of empathy, and how do we show empathy? How do we express that? Give me some examples of being empathetic to the situation, Brianna.
Like asking them, is this a good time to talk?
Yeah.
How long do you have?
Right.
Make sure you get, you know, everything that they want to say across to you,
Mm-hmm.
and give them a timeline of like, let me think about this and get back to you, or here's
That
my
can be very empathetic to the amount of time that they have. You know, if you've got 15 minutes or a half hour, great. You know, or maybe we need to schedule an appointment. Yeah, Summer.
Tilting your head to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Shows that you're really interested and you want to hear what they have to say, that
Mm-hmm.
you actually care.
Yeah, yeah. Might be, you know, kind of leaning in. Yeah. Okay, yeah, right. So there's yes, Deb.
Just phrases such as, I understand, I hear you,
Mm-hmm.
Validating words.
Yeah.
And sort of reiterate that you understand what they're saying.
Exactly, and that keeps drawing them in. When you guys were, you were saying, Sandra, that it was hard to like keep talking when there wasn't any empathetic kind of feedback, you know, and yeah, so then it just kind of, you know, goes into space. Being patient. Oh my God, our clients can talk about some stuff forever. Or when they, you know, they get on to like, well, tell me about one of your favorite trips. And off they go. Okay, being patient is definitely one of the ways that we can be better listeners. Listening to tone, and I would say even listening to accents can be, something. We can certainly listen to the tone, whether somebody is, maybe you can tell that they're upset, or you can tell that they're anxious, or you can tell that they're short on time, or that they just want to, you can tell by that tone. Sometimes too, we can get caught up in, somebody's accent, from a different part of the country. We can have attitudes about people's accents. Miss Southern over here, Miss Biscuits and Gravy, okay, yeah.
I like the Northerners.
Yeah. Despite that war of northern aggression, yeah, out there, yeah. Or New Yorkers. Who are my New Yorkers in the room? Yeah, we got a couple of New Yorkers in the room. Sometimes that New York accent can put some people off. Sometimes that Southern accent can, or sometimes that Midwest accent is like, oh, really, come on, liven it up a little bit, So we have we can find ourselves getting into some problems with listening here because we're listening to that accent. Listening for ideas, not just words. That's that kind of listening between the lines. That's it's a special occasion, or this is a big year, and that's why I want to take this trip to France. Well, what does a big year mean? And you're kind of digging in a little bit more. Nonverbal communication. We certainly had a little exercise in that this morning. The things that can happen on a nonverbal basis. That again, maybe to Angela's point, might be somebody sitting there going, I dare you to meet my budget. I defy you to reach my budget. And then also our personal prejudices that enter into the equation, which can be pretty daunting and are really sneaky. They're really sneaky, our personal biases, our personal prejudices. So I want to show you just a quick little video here to kind of cap some of what we've been talking about when it comes to listening. We all know TED Talks. So here is a TED Talk by a fellow by the name of Julian Treasure. And he talks about how we're losing our listening. And he has some interesting ideas to present on this front. So just sit back here and...
We are losing our listening. We spend roughly 60% of our communication time listening, but we're not very good at it. We retain just 25% of what we hear. Now, not you, not this talk, but that is generally true. Let's define listening as making meaning from sound. It's a mental process, and it's a process of extraction. We use some pretty cool techniques to do this. One of them is pattern recognition. So in a cocktail party like this, if I say, David, Sarah, pay attention, some of you just sat up. We recognize patterns to distinguish noise from signal, and especially our name. Differencing is another technique we use. If I left this pink noise on for more than a couple of minutes, you would literally cease to hear it. We listen to differences, we discount sounds that remain the same. And then there is a whole range of filters. These filters take us from all sound down to what we pay attention to. Most people are entirely unconscious of these filters, but they actually create our reality in a way because they tell us what we're paying attention to right now. I'll give you one example of that. Intention is very important in sound, in listening. When I married my wife, I promised her that I would listen to her every day as if for the first time. Now that's something I fall short of on a daily basis. But it's a great intention to have in a relationship. But that's not all. Sound places us in space and in time. If you close your eyes right now in this room, you're aware of the size of the room from the reverberation and the bouncing of the sound off the surfaces. And you're aware of how many people are around you because of the micro noises you're receiving. And sound places us in time as well, because sound always has time embedded in it. In fact, I would suggest that our listening is the main way that we experience the flow of time from past to future. So, sonority is time and meaning, a great quote. I said at the beginning, we're losing our listening. Why did I say that? Well, there are a lot of reasons for this. First of all, we invented ways of recording. First writing, then audio recording, and now video recording as well. The premium on accurate and careful listening has simply disappeared. Secondly, the world is now so noisy. With this cacophony going on visually and auditorially, it's just hard to listen. It's tiring to listen. Many people take refuge in headphones, but they turn big public spaces like this, shared soundscapes, into millions of tiny little personal sound bubbles. In this scenario, nobody's listening to anybody. We're becoming impatient. We don't want oratory anymore, we want sound bites. And the art of conversation is being replaced, dangerously, I think, by personal broadcasting. I don't know how much listening there is in this conversation, which is sadly very common, especially in the UK. We're becoming desensitized. Our media have to scream at us with these kind of headlines in order to get our attention. And that means it's harder for us to pay attention to the quiet, the subtle, the understated. This is a serious problem that we're losing our listening. This is not trivial, because listening is our access to understanding. Conscious listening always creates understanding, and only without conscious listening can these things happen. A world where we don't listen to each other at all is a very scary place indeed. So I'd like to share with you 5 simple exercises, tools you can take away with you to improve your own conscious listening. Would you like that? Good. The first one is silence. Just 3 minutes a day of silence is a wonderful exercise to reset your ears and to recalibrate so that you can hear the quiet again. If you can't get absolute silence, go for quiet. That's absolutely fine. Second, I call this the mixer. So even if you're in a noisy environment like this, and we all spend a lot of time in places like this, listen in the coffee bar to how many channels of sound can I hear? How many individual channels in that mix am I listening to? You can do it in a beautiful place as well, like a lake. How many birds am I hearing? Where are they? Where are those ripples? It's a great exercise for improving the quality of your listening. Third, this exercise I call savoring, and this is a beautiful exercise. It's about enjoying mundane sounds. This, for example, is my tumble dryer. It's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I love it. Or just try this one on for size. Wow! So mundane sounds can be really interesting if you pay attention. I call that the hidden choir. It's around us all the time. The next exercise is probably the most important of all of these. If you just take one thing away, this is listening positions. The idea that you can move your listening position to what's appropriate to what you're listening to. This is playing with those filters. You remember I gave you those filters at the beginning? It's starting to play with them as levers, to get conscious about them and to move to different places. These are just some of the listening positions or scales of listening positions that you can use. There are many. Have fun with that. It's very exciting. And finally, an acronym. You can use this in listening, in communication. If you're in any one of those roles, and I think that probably is everybody who's listening to this talk. The acronym is RASA, which is the Sanskrit word for juice or essence. And rasa stands for receive, which means pay attention to the person, appreciate, making little noises like, oh, okay. Summarize, the word so is very important in communication, and ask questions afterwards. Now, sound is my passion, it's my life. I wrote a whole book about it, so I live to listen. That's too much to ask for most people. But I believe that every human being needs to listen consciously in order to live fully. Connected in space and in time to the physical world around us, connected in understanding to each other, not to mention spiritually connected, because every spiritual path I know of has listening and contemplation at its heart. That's why we need to teach listening in our schools as a skill. Why is it not taught? It's crazy. And if we can teach listening in our schools, we can take our listening off that slippery slope to that dangerous, scary world that I talked about and move it to a place where everybody is consciously listening all the time, or at least capable of doing it. Now, I don't know how to do that, but this is TED. And I think the TED community is capable of anything. So I invite you to connect with me, connect with each other, take this mission out, and let's get listening taught in schools and transform the world in one generation to a conscious listening world, a world of connection, a world of understanding, and a world of peace. Thank you for listening to me today.
All right. Let's try that exercise, one of those exercises that he mentioned. And that is to just stop and listen. So for a minute, for a whole minute, we'll time you here, just stop and listen to all the sounds in this room. I don't want anybody to fall asleep, but just for a minute, okay? Okay. What did you hear? Hear the projector? The air conditioning? Yeah. The cutlery and the dishes out preparing our lunch? Yeah, there's some conversation going on out there. And outside, yeah, there's some workmen outside.
Deep breaths.
Breathing. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. All these things that we don't take time to listen. You know, that there's, I was just thinking about this, that one of the most valuable things that we could remind our clients of to put into an itinerary is when you get to that, Giverny, wherever it might happen to be that people are traveling to, take time to just stop and listen. Listen to the street sounds, in your little medieval village that you're staying in. Just sit outside and just listen to remind people to slow down and, and take some of that time. So this listening is, it's one of the most basic of needs that we have out there. Like this little child said, Mommy, listen with your whole face. It's a necessity that we be listened to. And it's, one of the most basic needs that we have, and yet it's one of the things that we do the least of. Or we listen so that we can capture information, or we listen only to, in order to be ready to respond. But to actually listen with a kind of a whole heart is a very different kind of thing. The best way to understand people is to listen to them, to listen to their stories of their families, to listen to the stories of, a widower who just lost his wife, after 45 years or something. To listen to those things is a huge way to not manipulatively bond and connect, but to, as a human being. Matthew talked about this at the very beginning of the day, the power of human connection, which is one of the bywords of Virtuoso, is about this. This is a very powerful thing, this human connection. And the way that we do that, in part, is through listening. And that means that we have to shut up. Shut up and listen, and really hear what people have to say. So this Julian gave us another couple of good little exercises, kind of 5 steps. But that 5th one was something that he called rasa. So what was that? As a good little little acronym when it comes to listening. So the R was for receive. And what did he mean by that? Yeah, pay attention. Kind of receive what's coming your way. Yeah, just allow it in. And appreciate, yes, accept on the receiving. So appreciate, and how might that show up? Yeah, the acknowledgement, that little body language, that, oh, yeah, all that stuff that we didn't do here. S, summarize. Okay, this is back to what you had talked about earlier this morning, Kip. Summarize. And what was his magic word for that? So. Let me make sure that I understand what you've said here. And I can't tell you how important that is when we're in these conversations with our clients, because the conversations can kind of go all over the place. So let me summarize here, or let me make sure that I understand what you've asked for, or what it is that we've been talking about here, and making sure that you understand. And almost invariably, out of that little, sometimes called the recap, let me recap what's been said here. Something else is going to show up. Something else is going to, oh, did I tell you about this? And oh, by the way, my mother-in-law is paying for all of this. Oh, well, perhaps we should talk with the mother-in-law at one point, okay? Or, oh, by the way, I have I have an elderly mother at home, and that might be something that could possibly get in the way. Things. So when we actually do this, and very consciously do this, and that might be in an email, it may be in our conversations, but hugely important. And the final A is ask. Okay, so now we've gotten to those questions. When in doubt, ask. Never, ever make an assumption that we understand if we don't, or if they're using a term that we're like, here's a good example of a term. We're looking for some place that's really romantic. What's romantic to you? What's in your mind about romantic? I know what romantic looks like for me, or we know that for Amanda, not romantic here, but breakfast in bed with her Eggs Benedict in a 5-star hotel that's a very clear definition, right? So people will have ideas about what romantic is, or what fun is, or what adventure is. That's a very ill-defined term. So those sorts of things are really very important that we get clarification on what do you mean by adventure? Or when you talk about adventure, what does that mean? Or you're talking about your family getting together. What does that look like? What's the, get some definition around some of those things, because they can trip you up here. Now, one other thing that can get in the way, another barrier to listening, and Julian mentioned this as well, is bias. Yes, some of these preconceived ideas that we have out there. So Jay's going to take us through a little exercise here. This is a pretty funny little character here. I'm looking for copies of the New York Times. Oh, that would be in the fiction section. Okay. But an exercise here on bias that'll help us understand.
In your binder, you have a worksheet, and it says bias awareness. And there are 25 lines on that first sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 25 different slides What I want you to do is just write down your first impression of the slide that you see. We're not going to share this. This is for you, so you can be as honest on these. Once we're done looking at these 25 slides, then we're going to get you to look at that second page and at some takeaways. What did you recognize? Do you see some things that might, be a little bit that you have to work on, okay? So 25 slides on bias. I'm going to give you about 8 seconds per slide to be able to write down your first impression, okay? Here we go. Slide number 1. Okay, bias. Basically, this is the definition. A particular tendency, trend, inclination, feeling, or opinion, especially one that is preconceived or unreasoned. Unreasonably hostile feelings or opinions about a social group. Bias can come in many forms and is often considered to be synonymous with prejudice or bigotry. Now, Bias can also be positive. I mean, you can have a positive bias towards something, but in many instances, it is actually, this is what the definition of bias is. So after you've gone through those 25 slides, making your own notes, on that other page, the next page over, there should be something that will allow you, is there not another page for takeaways? No. All right. So just write it on the back side of that. What are your takeaways from that bias exercise? What kind of struck you as you looked at some of those images, you know, that you might have thought, wow, you know, that pants down around the backside, you know, is that something that struck you? So, yeah. So, yeah, just what are your takeaways? Yeah.
So what did you notice about yourself?
I noticed a couple I didn't have a first impression. I had to actually look at it longer. Yeah.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I have to ask a question about this, because that was Michelle Bach, right, the CEO of Hershey, with the woman there? I think I know her personally. So when I personally knew one of those people, it became, you know, I got stuck there a little bit, because if I in that group of like people with musicians carrying, if I knew someone or they looked like somebody, I got stuck with that frequency. I got stuck in that for a long time.
Whatever it is that you knew about that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So biases, we all have them. Successfully functioning in a society with diverse values, traditions, and lifestyles requires us to have a relationship to our own reactions rather than be captive to them. To resist our tendencies to make right or true that which is nearly familiar, and wrong or false that which is only strange.
Yeah, we're living in a time of some pretty harsh, you know, biases that are certainly very, very apparent in our society right now. But that's one really good example of how bias, you know, shows up. It can show up politically. You know, there's some really strong opinions to the point where Thanksgiving is coming up, and it's like one of the subjects that's not going to be brought up is about that. Yeah. But what are some other biases, or you know, to some of the things that you noticed here? What was something that you noticed for yourself in all of this? Or
if they were smiling, I seemed pretty comfortable. Like no matter what they were wearing or.
okay.
If they were smiling, they seemed really approachable to me.
Okay, so that was something that was like, if somebody comes in and they're a little bit harumphy, you know.
They were scruffy or anything, but as long as they were smiling, they seemed.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I noticed that depending on how they were dressed and groomed, I thought, well, they have some money and they don't have money.
Right. So there was a financial bias simply based on how people were dressed. Or groomed. Right, exactly. I mean, I was thinking about the guy with the cigar and the tattoos and, you know, all the rest of it. You're like, I don't know, the guy could be worth millions, you know, but we do have an immediate bias, or some of us having a bias towards that. Where else did it show up for you? Yeah, Chandra.
I just really realized, I noticed about myself that I call things as I see them.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes me that much more aware that you will likely be perceived by how you show up. And whether that is effectively who you really are, maybe then we all have to be a little more cognizant of how we present ourselves and how we want to be perceived.
That's right. Because we can make those assumptions. Other people are making assumptions about us. So what is it that we want them to assume about us when it comes to who we are professionally, or how it is that we're interacting with people around the world, or interacting with general managers, or how do we want to be seen? How do we want to be perceived? Absolutely. How about that little baby? I always want to ask about the baby. What'd you think about the baby? What'd you think, Marlene?
I thought it was very unhappy, maybe kind of
Okay, so you went to like this maternal, oh, he's unhappy, he's hungry. Anyone have a different reaction?
I hope he's not sitting next to me.
I hope he's not sitting next to me. Yeah. So we're walking down, you know, we've gone seat number 10, seat 15, seat 20. Oh my God. Hope it's not me. Yeah. So yes, yeah.
Well, I was thinking one of the takeaways for me is that I know that thoughts determine actions. And so I want to be really careful what I think about
Yes.
so that I don't unconsciously act.
Yeah, yes. This is a real consciousness raising kind of exercise that we've been doing this morning, is being really conscious of how easily these things slip in. So easy. Right. Right, or allow that, whatever that first impression is, just like, it's a first impression, let me let it go, you know, be conscious of it, and, you know, and see what shows up. Yeah, because we can really countermand ourselves, yeah.
As like we got farther down, I almost found myself creating like a ranking, like would I want to work with that person based on like, are they going to be really high maintenance and difficult, or are they going to have a budget in order to like actually work with me?
Right.
So kind of like finding again from the pictures, like
Right.
where that in between was.
Yeah.
Some of them even pushing away maybe like the platinum card or stuff like that with like people that just again, are you working for them or with them? As your travel with their travel.
Exactly. So there are lots of little cues. You know, somebody brings out their Capital One card, and somebody brings out their Platinum Amex card. You can make a judgment on that. I mean, we do make judgments on that. We make judgments around gender. You know, there's a study that came out just. I don't know when it came out, but a recent study about how the male voice is still the authority voice in society. So wherever it is that you fall down, when the man gets on the phone, you know, it's kind of like, listen up. You know, I've been talking to the wife over here, but all of a sudden now I've got to be talking to the husband. It's like something else happens, and it's true. There's this gender bias out there. There's ethnic bias. In our business, we have bias around destinations. Anyone have a bias around Las Vegas? Yeah, sometimes we do. Sometimes we have a bias around Disney. Why would you do that? You know, the ears, doesn't everyone want to go to the ears? Yeah. So we'll have biases about that. We'll have biases about luxury or more modest. So our biases are going to show up in lots and lots and lots of different ways.
My bias showed up in Hampton Inn.
Okay, that Hampton Inn or that little Holiday Inn, exactly, Holiday Inn Express.
Very obvious.
Right, and what was your reaction to it? Cheap,
not
right,
window.
as opposed to the Plaza. Yeah, it's like, yes.
Sexy New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Value conscious. Yeah, I just put value conscious.
Well, and here's the other thing. All of us are going to interpret these different signals in different ways.
Right.
So our biases are ours, you know, and so we're the ones who have to be conscious of, of them and be aware of them. So there's something else I want to share with you guys here, and that has to do with the idea of a mental model. This is work done by some psychologists that kind of speak to this whole issue around bias in particular, and how it is that we create these kind of conclusions, these quick conclusions that we come to. It all starts with something happening, okay? Somebody scruffy walking through the door, okay? Or somebody's pants who are riding down below their below their waistline, all right? Or it might be something that happens out there. There's a strike in Italy, again, okay? There's a volcanic eruption in Iceland. Okay, it's an event. Something happens. And what quickly takes place is that there's a whole series of experiences, a whole series of things that we've learned about that. There's a whole series of prejudices, of biases that quickly filter through our minds. Okay? So, and we immediately create an interpretation based on all of these things that are just like boom, 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 even almost unconsciously going through our heads, based on our experiences. And based on our interpretation, we will quickly go to what kind of a response are we going to have out of this. And if something happens, zoom, quick interpretation, now we have to respond to it. And we can respond to it internally with like, okay, here's what this means. Or maybe it's an external. We have to speak about it. We have to respond to it in some way, shape, or form. And based on how it is that we respond is likely a precursor or an indicator of what our results are going to be, right? Okay, so this is the whole idea of a mental model. And here's where the bias part of things comes in. It comes in right in here. So all of these pictures that had nothing necessarily to do with anything, except that you'd had an experience somehow in your life, some sort of an opportunity to have a judgment or had interacted with somebody like a screaming child, a screaming baby, or some scruffy-looking character out there that we've had this experience around. And so the tricky part of that is that we can't not have that because it's part of our experience. Or maybe a teacher told us something at one point in time about people, or parents talk to us about, I don't know, those South Americans, or those Europeans, or we've got a lot of things that are like in the news right now, a lot of things that are out there. It's like, you can't trust those people out there. So when we see those people out there, it happens. And we have to stop and recognize that that's not even my experience. But it is an experience that I've had that I have taken as my own somehow. Or to use the example of the volcanoes. Many of your agencies, and some of you will remember that a few years back, Iceland blew up, okay? And all of that volcanic ash spread all across the North Atlantic into Northern Europe. And what happened when that happened as far as us as in the industry? What's that?
Nobody wanted to go there.
Well, no one wanted to go there. Okay, so Iceland's business fell off like a rock, right? What else happened?
Travelers were stuck.
Travelers were stuck. Travelers got stuck in Europe. They got stuck all over the place, and they couldn't get back. And some of your agencies were hiring private planes or rerouting them through South America to get them back to the United States or vice versa or whatever. All sorts of implications. There was a lot of financial implications that happened. Now, every time they hear about a volcano, quickly through their mind, and creating an interpretation of, oh my gosh, this is going to be a huge issue. This is going to be a problem. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we can't, in other words, we can quickly make these interpretations of what's going on. And the only way that we can change the results that we want out of this, so the results that I want is that it not be a big deal, that it be something that we seamlessly take care of, that our clients are easily and quickly taken care of. If that's the result that I want, then I'm probably going to have to stop right here and and stop and think, well, that was the experience last time. So how am I going to respond, not react? How am I going to respond this time in order to get the results that I want? But specifically this is brought up at this point in time is because our biases live in here. And if we're not careful, our biases can run all the way through to the results that we get, the results that we create for ourselves. So being conscious of that and recognizing that it's just being human. It's being human to have these things. It's being enlightened to be conscious of them and to make decisions to let those things go and to allow an empathetic listening and conversation to take place so that something different can happen, in all of the work that we do. So it's a pretty important point here because it brings us to this, and that is about trust. All that we've been talking about this morning, everything that we have built up to is about being that trusted advisor. And it turns out that there is actually, an equation, an easy way to understand this. That somehow our most important thing that we're up to in any of our relationships, we talk about it a lot with our relationships with our clients, but we've got relationships with each other. We've got relationships with our families. We've got relationships with our supplier partners. We've got relationships with our sales representatives out there. Lives in these 4 domains, very, very important. It lives in our credibility, in our reliability, in our ability to be intimate, and we'll explain what that means, divided by our self-orientation. So when we stop to look at this, what do we mean? And what's great about having an equation, we're kind of deconstructing what trust is that when it breaks down, we can go back and go, oh, that's what happened. Now I get it. So let's look at this. Credibility. What does credibility even mean? Valerie, what is credibility? If you have credibility.
Well, it means that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do something. You're giving your word.
You're giving your word, yes. So you're credible based on your word. Might be, pardon me?
Proven track record.
Yeah, it might be your proven track record. Where else might we get credibility? Especially, we're like all pretty new in the business. From others, from our agencies, from our peers, from our partners, our reputations that maybe precede our reputations from our previous work that we've done. So some of us don't have a lot of credibility, perhaps yet, as travel advisors, but we've got credibility based on the lives that we've led out there and so on. I trust what she's saying about Italy. She's totally credible on the subject. What do we mean by reliability then? Bridget, if you're reliable, what can I assume?
That's where when you say you're going to do something and you do it and you've got
right.
Again, a record of just saying, doing what you say you're going to do.
Exactly. It's in credibility that that our trust breaks down a lot when we're brand new, because we overpromise. Okay, and it's that sort of I'll get back to you later this afternoon. Well, first off, later this afternoon doesn't mean anything. What's later this afternoon? All right, or the assumption that unless we get clear, I'll be able to get back with you with an update by 5 o'clock this afternoon. That without that, our credibility can go out the window because our clients assumed that we'd get back with them in an hour. And they're sitting there tapping their toes going, but that's because we didn't establish the parameters of what will keep us credible. So being very clear about that, or reliable rather. So that overpromising can be tricky. So you want to be very clear. We can talk more about that as well. When it comes to intimacy, there's, you will, in fact, know a lot of very intimate things about your clients, which, needless to say, is sacred information, right? Okay, you're going to know about their grandchildren. You're going to know the ages of their grandchildren. You're going to know where the grandchildren live. You're going to know who they sleep with. You're going to know who they don't sleep with. You're going to know what kind of bed configurations they like. You're going to know all sorts of really intimate details about people's lives, right? That's sacred. But there's another kind of intimacy that develops trust. And that is the intimacy, the willingness to ask difficult questions. Some describe it as stepping into the danger. You know, this is the client that you've had this wonderful conversation. You've learned all sorts of things about them. You understand their style, the vibe, kind of who they are, how they operate, and then they've given you some sort of screwball itinerary that you're like, oh my God, they're going to hate this. I know their brother-in-law said it was fabulous, but they're not going to like this. Now, you can do one of two things. You can, as an agent, transact the business. What the hell? Who cares? They asked for it. Or you can step into an intimate space and go, based on everything that you have told me and all the aspirations that you have for this trip and all the things that you would like to experience along the way, I'm not sure about these hotels. I'm really concerned that that the pace of this, you're looking for a leisurely breakfast in bed kind of thing, and in order to do this, you're going to have to crack it at 7 a.m. every morning and be out of that hotel by 8. So that can be a difficult thing to actually contradict what somebody is saying. So that's a very intimate thing to actually do. You know, or you'll come across all sorts of different things along that lines. And then the other thing is divide this by self-orientation. And now we're talking about us. Am I oriented towards making the sale, getting it done, or am I really oriented towards my client? And if we're oriented towards our client, then we have a much better chance of actually developing trust. We've all been in stores where we've tried on, gone into the fitting room and we've got, different jackets, we've got different outfits, we've got swimsuits, God forbid, okay? And come out and the person, who's been waiting on us goes, oh, Helen, that is fabulous. Love the color, love the fit, everything about it, wonderful. And you're looking at it going, I don't think so. Okay. And what's going through your mind is, I wonder if they're working on commission.
They're not being credible.
They're not being, and their orientation is towards making the deal, as opposed to instead of stepping into it and going, oh, that was that wrong choice. Go back in and try on the next thing. Okay. So that's how you develop trust. It really is that simple. So when it breaks down, and you can look back in your own relationships, friendships that you've had over the years that have gone sideways, and you can look and see it had something to do with credibility, reliability, willingness to get into it with somebody, and their self-orientation. How many of you ever had a friend who oh yeah, let's go out, well, let's do this, yes. I'll be there on Tuesday night. And invariably they cancel. What eventually happens? You don't want to go out with them. You quit trusting them. Yeah, they said Tuesday night and you kind of go, yeah, well, whatever. Okay, we'll see. So, okay, I think we're probably ready to take a little break here for lunchtime.
We are. Come back at 1 o'clock. Let's synchronize our watches so that we're actually back at 1.